Chapter 947. Published at 7th of May, 2022, 7:58 and 26 seconds p.m. Chapter 947. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. These footsteps sound too heavy for a human. Yuan quickly noticed this after hearing the Lord's footsteps. A few moments later, the footsteps stopped, but the Lord hadn't shown himself yet. Having second thoughts? Yuan asked him with a calm smile. No, I am just giving you some time to prepare yourself. My appearance. It might shock you. Yuan chuckled. Let me guess, you're super ugly? This explains why you're holed up in that cave. Insolence. The manager suddenly shouted. I'm just joking. Anyways, there's no need to wait for me. I already know your true identity, after all. Oh, you do? The Lord sounded quite surprised. Yes. Well, not exactly, but I know that you're not human. You're a divine beast, right? I don't know your species, but you're definitely a divine beast. After a moment of silence, the footsteps continued, and a large figure appeared from the cave. How did you find out? And how long have you known? The Lord asked as he came out of the cave for the first time in a very long time, revealing his massive figure. Yuan looked at the Lord's figure with his divine sense. The Lord was around 10 meters tall. His body resembled that of a tiger, and it was covered in a beautiful coat of thick, red fur, almost like a Tibetan mastiff. What are you, a tiger? Yuan asked him in a calm voice. I belong to the ancient mastiff's bloodline. Specifically, I am a blood mastiff. The Lord said. Mastiff, so you're a dog? How dare you compare the bloodline of the blood mastiff to a mere dog? The manager shouted at him again. The Lord laughed. I thought you'd be more nervous or surprised. How unfortunate. Yuan shrugged. I have met with plenty of divine beasts and already. How do blood mastiffs compare to phoenixes or dragons? Well, that depends on the grade of our bloodline and our race. Not all phoenixes and dragons are born equal. For example, there are over 10 different kinds of phoenixes, and the golden phoenix ranks 4th amongst all phoenixes. Meanwhile, dragons have over 100 different bloodlines, and the flood dragon is ranked 94th. The blood mastiff, while they cannot compare to the most powerful dragons and phoenixes out there, we are stronger than most phoenixes and dragons. I see. Yuan mumbled. And he continued. Anyway, I figured it out not long ago due to something Leah said. And me. The manager exclaimed. The Lord narrowed his eyes and spoke. Let me guess. You figured it out when she said that she couldn't learn demon sealing techniques. Yuan nodded. That's right. All humans are capable of learning demon sealing techniques. The only beings that cannot learn them are magical beasts and divine beasts. He turned to face Leah and asked her, Are you also a blood mastiff? However, she refused to respond to him. You don't need to tell me if you don't want to. However, I am curious. If she can transform into a human and interact with other humans, why aren't you doing the same? Instead, you choose to stay up here. Yuan then asked. The Lord sighed. It's not that I don't want to transform into a human. I can't, at least not right now. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Why not? What's preventing you from doing so? I am currently maintaining a formation that requires immense spiritual energy. It's constantly absorbing my spiritual energy, so much so that I cannot even spare some to transform into a human. And before you ask, no, it's not the formation that conceals the peak of this mountain. In fact, this formation is more of a seal that's existing within my body. What does the formation do? It keeps this world alive. The Lord said, dumbfounding him. Ha! What do you mean? You see, there is a massive formation that surrounds this world. You cannot see it, but it's there. This formation is what's keeping this world from falling apart. If I deactivate the formation, this world will be destroyed. It is also my duty to keep this formation active at all times, and I have been doing this for millions of years. Yuan was speechless. What the Lord told him was beyond even his wildest imaginations. You must be wondering why this world is on the verge of destruction. The Lord spoke after a moment of silence. Yuan pondered and asked, Does it have anything to do with cultivation online? Yes, it does. Since you already know that cultivation online, which takes place in the 9 heavens, exists out there. This will make explaining a lot easier. This world known as Earth used to be part of the 9 heavens, but it was separated during a massive war that not only removed Earth from the 9 heavens, but also created the 9 heavens at the same time. I don't get it. Yuan tilted his head. Well, you see, the 9 heavens wasn't always split into 9 different realms. The 9 heavens used to be one place. This means the lower heaven and all of the other heavens existed in the same plane, so you didn't need to ascend or descend. With that being said, since the world was so massive, the people made 9 different continents, and each continent was called first heaven, second heaven, third heaven, and so on. In case you're wondering, the 9 heavens used to be called the divine heaven. I see. Yuan mumbled as he digested the information. Anyways, Earth couldn't be part of the new 9 heavens because it was too small and had drifted too far away. And without the 9 heavens' support, Earth could not support itself, hence why the formation is required to keep this world in one piece. I'm surprised you're able to support this world with that cultivation, Yuan said. My cultivation dropped to peak Spirit Emperor only because of the seal in my body. My real cultivation is actually far higher. The Lord sighed. Yuan nodded. I understand the situation of our world and the 9 heavens, but what's the deal with cultivation online? What is its real purpose? I'm getting there, the Lord said. Chapter 948. Published at 7th of May, 2022, 7:58 and 26 seconds p.m. Chapter 948. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. The truth about. Before I tell you about the truth about, let me ask you this. Do you know how it works? How you can visit the 9 heavens through? The Lord asked. Yuan pondered for a moment before speaking. It obviously has something to do with the console we put on our head, but I have inspected it multiple times, even taking it apart. Despite that, I couldn't find anything special about it. I'm not surprised, since you don't have the means to see the formation. Formation? There is a formation in the console? Yes, and it's actually 2 different formations, both fairly powerful formations called the Soul Transference Array and the Spirit Avatar Array. The Soul Transference Array transfers a part of your soul to the 9 heavens, just enough so that your actual body doesn't become soulless and die, and the Spirit Avatar Array transforms your separated soul into an avatar, your character. This is why it feels so real, because it's a real world, and you're there as a soul. Yuan frowned upon hearing this. Our soul? Isn't that really bad? If one's soul is damaged even in the slightest, it could really mess up a person's life and turn them brain dead. If our character is our soul, doesn't that mean all damages inflicted on the character will also be inflicted on our soul? Indeed, but you don't need to worry about that too much. While it's true that your character is made out of your soul, it's not entirely your soul. Unless you are hit by techniques specifically meant to damage one's soul, your soul won't get damaged. With that being said, if you die in, there is a high chance that your actual soul will be damaged. This is why when players die, many of them lose their ability to cultivate, both in and real life. The Lord explained. Of course, it's not guaranteed, hence why some people can still cultivate after they die. It is also the reason why even if you switch consoles, your character will remain the same. The heck? How dare you tell me to not worry about it too much? That's super worrisome. Which genius decided to put our souls at risk while hiding the fact? And for what reason? Yuan asked, feeling a little frustrated by the truth. The Lord took a deep breath and spoke. The Celestial Emperor. Huh? You mean the guy who rules over the 9 heavens? Why on earth would he do such a thing? Unfortunately, I do not know his intentions or goal. However, if I had to take a guess, I believe that he's trying to recruit talented people through. How do I know that you're telling the truth? Yuan suddenly said. And he continued, for all I know, you could be working for the Celestial Emperor. After all, how else would you know so much about cultivation online? I don't know what kind of person the Celestial Emperor is, nor do I know his purpose, but no matter his intentions, I do not agree with it. In fact, I would even say that I am against it. As much as I love cultivation online and am grateful to it, the Celestial Emperor is playing with our lives here, and he is doing so while keeping us in the dark about it. If you ask me, he's not a good guy. I can promise you that I am not working for the Celestial Emperor. However, I don't have any way to prove it to you, so you'll have to take my words for it. As someone who has lived in the 9 heavens before it was split into 9 different realms, it's only natural for me to know about the 9 heavens and earth. As for the truth about cultivation online, I knew it as soon as I saw the formations hidden within the consoles, and there is only one person in the 9 heavens who is capable of achieving such a feat, the Celestial Emperor. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Yuan pondered for a moment before speaking. Putting aside my trust for now, I have some questions. The people living within the 9 heavens, the ones we call an NPC, how come they don't find anything wrong with us? We come back to life after we're killed, and we can log in and off at will. Yet they all act as though it's completely natural. The Lord sighed. What I am about to say is only a theory, so I am not 100% on it, but I believe that the Celestial Emperor had placed a curse on these people, making it so that they don't find anything wrong with it. Curses like this exist? Yuan raised an eyebrow. Yes. There are plenty of curses out there that can alter a person's personality, so something like this isn't too shocking if the Celestial Emperor is behind it all. The Lord nodded. With that being said, I don't think the curse is affecting everybody in the 9 heavens. There are powerful cultivators out there that surpass even the Celestial Emperor in terms of strength, so it's unlikely for these individuals to be cursed by him. Hearing this information, Yuan remembered something. The Great One. He knew that I didn't belong to the 9 heavens, and he even knew my real name. You know the Great One? The Lord looked at him with wide eyes. Not personally, but I have spoken with him once before, and I even accepted his legacy. I see. Anyways, I have no doubt that the Great One isn't affected by the Celestial Emperor's curse. He's one of the most powerful beings in all of the 9 heavens, after all. The Lord spoke in an admiring tone. Is there anything we can do to remove this curse? If it's even a curse? Yuan then asked. I'm not sure, but you can try finding someone who is not affected by the curse and see if they can remove the curse. The Lord said. I see. That makes sense. Yuan nodded. Chapter 949. Published at 7th of May, 2022, 7:58 and 26 seconds p.m. Chapter 949. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Traveling to the 9 heavens. Now that you know about the connection between Earth and the 9 heavens and the truth about, let's talk about the Dragon Spiral Mountain. The Lord said. Have you ever thought about visiting the 9 heavens? Of course. Yuan immediately nodded his head. Well, the Dragon Spiral Mountain is actually a gateway to the 9 heavens, meaning you can travel to the 9 heavens. Really? Yuan shouted in excitement. It has been a very long time since he was this excited about something. Yes, but it cannot be done now. The gateway to the 9 heavens is a two-way portal, meaning that both gates must be activated in order for it to work. While I can activate the gate in this world, we will need someone to open the gate in the 9 heavens. If you can do that, you will be able to travel to the 9 heavens with your real body. Where can I find the gate in the 9 heavens? Yuan eagerly asked. I'm not exactly sure myself, but it should be somewhere between the 4th heaven and the 7th heaven. That's 3 realms of possibilities. Are you telling me to search every nook and cranny of these realms? Yuan exclaimed. You won't spend that much effort on looking because the name of the gate in the 9 heavens is the same as the one in this world, Dragon Spiral Mountain. Ask the right people and you will find it right away. I see. By the way, what will happen if I travel to the 9 heavens with my real body? What will happen to my character? Nothing. Your character will remain active even if you go there with your real body. In fact, that essentially means you will have 2 bodies in that world. One made of flesh and one made of your soul. Oh, I should have mentioned this before when we were on the subject, but when you log off, your soul doesn't return to you. Your character just loses its physical form and returns to being a soul, which is invisible to one's eyes. Huh. Does that mean my soul isn't in one piece even now? Yuan quickly asked. Indeed. Your current body contains only about 10% of your soul, and the other 90% is currently in the 9 heavens where you last logged off. No fucking way. Is that why I find it much harder to learn techniques in this world? Because I only have 10% of my soul? That is correct. My impressions of this celestial emperor is decreasing with every passing moment. Yuan sighed. Wait. Is this also why, despite cultivating it doesn't affect our real body? What will happen if I regain all of my soul? Will I gain all of the cultivation it has gathered? He then asked. Indeed. If you reabsorb your soul, you will gain everything it has learned and acquired, and this includes its cultivation and skills. The Lord confirmed. Then how come some of the treasures affect our real body? Treasures affect one's soul differently. Even if the soul is separated, as long as you nourish one part of the soul, the other part will also receive the benefits. Don't ask me how it works. It just does. Then I want to ask about the gate. How do I activate it? Yuan asked a moment later. The gate is actually a formation, a level 7 formation. If you want to activate it, you'll need to become a level 7 array master. The Lord said. Level 7. Once you're capable of activating level 7 arrays and formations, I will teach you how to activate the gate. Visit Readle.me for extra chapters. Sounds good. Yuan nodded. Any more questions? Of course. I still have tons. However, the one I want answers to the most right now would be this one. You mentioned that our souls will not be harmed unless our character dies or it suffers a technique meant for the soul. I want you to elaborate on that. The Lord nodded and spoke. There are techniques out there that directly inflicts damage on one's soul. Such techniques are incredibly rare and valuable. Perhaps the rarest kind of technique out there. However, they exist, and if you're struck by such an attack, it could shatter your soul, and 90% of your soul will disappear. Yuan swallowed nervously. Is there any way to combat these techniques? The Lord shook his head and sighed. Unfortunately, the only way to defend against techniques that damage one's soul is to have a soul that's strong enough to endure the attack. And in order to strengthen your soul, you must practice soul tempering techniques, but such techniques are as rare as soul attacking techniques. That would be the stat soul strength in Cultivation Online, correct? Yuan asked, as he remembers hearing about them from Xiaohua. Indeed. There are only 2 ways to improve your soul strength: by cultivating soul tempering techniques, or by consuming treasures. Yuan turned silent for a moment before speaking. Then how come my soul strength increases alongside my cultivation? I have never cultivated any soul tempering techniques, nor do I recall consuming any treasures with such effect. What? Is that true? That your soul strength increases when you increase your cultivation? The Lord appeared to be greatly shocked after hearing his words. Yes, it's true. The Lord's eyes flickered with countless emotions. Did you happen to know your bloodline? He suddenly asked. Yuan nodded. It's called the Immortal Monarch Bloodline. Do you know of it? Immortal Monarch Bloodline. The Lord's legs nearly gave out on him after hearing this familiar name. Even the manager appeared to be quite shocked by it. So you do know something about it. This is great. I know nothing about my bloodline, so tell me everything you know. Yuan said with a smile on his face, his excitement growing once again. The Immortal Monarch. To think I'd meet his descendant here. If this isn't fate. The Lord sighed inwardly. Chapter 950. Published at 7th of May, 2022, 7:58 and 27 seconds p.m. Chapter 950. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Immortal Monarch. After coming out of his daze, the Lord took a long and deep breath before speaking. The Immortal Monarch is a prominent figure from after the primordial era. He has another nickname, but I will get to that later. First, you should probably learn more about the 9 heavens and its history. The primordial era is the first known era. It's what some people call the beginning of time, as this is the furthest history goes. The primordial era lasted for countless millions of years. During this time, many legends were created. However, towards the end of the primordial era, a massive war between the first celestial emperor and the cultivators living in that world occurred. It was known as the Heavenly War of Immortals and Gods. I won't get into the details since it's really long and has nothing to do with our topic, but many powerful figures had died after that war. A few thousand years later, the primordial era ended when the first known demon-red tyrant suddenly showed up in the divine heaven. Because of the heavenly war that resulted in the deaths of countless experts, the human race was quickly overwhelmed by the demons, thus the beginning of a new era, the demonic era. The demons ruled the divine heavens for millions of years until the divine paragon appeared. After sealing the demonic realm and defeating most of the demons out there, the demonic era came to an end. Yuan digested all of this information with a serious face. I see. Primordial era and the demonic era. There's still so much I don't know even though I have the divine paragon's memories. The Lord continued after allowing Yuan some time to breathe. After the demonic era is an era known as the immortal monarch's era, where a single person ruled. However, even though I say that head dominated the 9 heavens, it wasn't anything official. Nobody knows the immortal monarch's background or where he came from, but he was so immensely powerful that not even the celestial emperor of that era could control him. With that being said, it was not his strength that truly shocked the world. It was his connections, his companions. The immortal monarch, also known as the monarch of beasts, was the first person in history to make divine beasts willingly obey him. What? Yuan was dumbfounded after hearing this information. Before the immortal monarch's era, divine beasts did not communicate with humans, and to human cultivators, divine beasts were superior beings that lived in a different world. Humans revered divine beasts and treated them like gods, so the idea of a divine beast lowering its head and serving a human was an unthinkable thing back then. However, the immortal monarch defied all logic and created history by becoming the first human to receive the divine beast's support. As a result of this, the immortal monarch also became the most powerful beast tamer in the 9 heavens. He was an untouchable figure that had many powerful divine beasts by his side. After hearing this information about his bloodline, many things started making sense to Yuan. The reason Feng Yuxiang and Lan Yingying found his blood delicious is most likely due to his bloodline that had many connections with divine beasts. If you don't mind me asking, may I have a drop of your blood for confirmation? The Lord suddenly asked him. Sure. Yuan didn't refuse, as he wanted to see the Lord's reaction. What? You're going to drink a human's blood? That's insane. The manager suddenly shouted. Silence. The Lord roared. If what he said is true, then he's not just any ordinary human. He's related to the immortal monarch, who had the support of the 9 ancient beasts. Do you have any idea what this means? What's the 9 ancient beasts? Yuan asked out of curiosity. Visit Riedel. Me for extra chapters. The 9 ancient beasts refers to the most powerful and ancient divine beasts in the 9 heavens. They're said to be the first divine beasts to ever exist, so they're basically the ancestors of all divine beasts. I see. Anyway, hey, race my blood. Yuan collected a single drop of his blood and gave it to the Lord. The Lord's body visibly trembled afterward. See, this is, without doubt, the immortal monarch's bloodline. Only the immortal monarch's bloodline can taste unique to us divine beasts. The Lord exclaimed. The blood of normal humans tastes like muddy water to us divine beast, but the immortal monarch is different. His blood tastes would taste more delicious than even the most delicious thing we have ever eaten. And that is exactly what your blood tasted like. Is that so? Yuan noticed the weird expression on the manager's face and turned to look at her with a smile on his face. Leah, do you also want to taste my blood? I can tell that you're curious. He asked her. There's no way that I would want to taste the blood of a human. I don't care if you have the immortal monarch's bloodline. I won't accept you, a human. The manager responded with gritted teeth. Yuan raised his eyebrows and turned to ask the Lord. Did something happen with her? Her hate for humans doesn't appear to be natural. And mind your own business. The manager shouted. The Lord shook his head and said, I'm afraid that I do not have the right to tell her story. If you truly wish to know, you must ask her. Don't even think about it. Because I won't tell you no matter what. The manager continued. Don't worry, I won't force you. You can tell me when you're ready. Yuan said with a smile. Damn, he's so irritating. Why does he have to make it sound like I am going to tell him in the future? And he sounds so confident about it. The manager cried inwardly. I apologize for her, young Master Yuan. The Lord said a moment later. Ha! What did you just call me? Yuan doubted his hearing just now. Chapter 951. Published at 5th of May, 2022, 3:06 and 14 seconds p.m. Chapter 951. 951 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 951. Immortal Monarch's Descendant. Since it's confirmed that you have the Immortal Monarch's bloodline, I must address you properly. It's only natural, as you're the Immortal Monarch's descendant. The Lord said. Just continue calling me Yuan. I don't like it when people suddenly change the way they address me. It feels awkward. I understand, Yuan. The Lord nodded. Anyways, I still have more questions. Ask away. Why are you responsible for the seal on Earth? Who decided that? It was my decision and idea to accept the seal. The Lord said. Why? Your strength is sealed, and your energy is constantly being absorbed by the seal. Why would you agree to what is essentially constant torture? The Lord smiled and said, Believe it or not, I do it because I love humans. Huh? What kind of nonsense is that? I know you probably think it's stupid. I am well aware of how cringe and typical my reasoning is, but it's the truth. Furthermore, I was born on Earth, at least before it got its name. Earth was a small part of First Heaven before, and it was my hometown. Yuan sighed. Well, I'm not going to make fun of your decision even though I find it ridiculous, so I'm going to go ahead and move to the next question. Since there are 2 divine beasts here, could there be other divine beasts hidden in this world? What about magical beasts? Where did they go? And how did the existence of cultivation disappear for the majority of the world? I'm not sure if there are other divine beasts out there since it's been countless years since I have left this place, but it's not impossible. As for the magical beasts, they were all hunted to extinction. Normally, more magical beasts would be born after some time, but due to the lack of spiritual energy in this world and its small size, such a thing did not happen. Now on to why the majority of this world forgot about cultivation. Honestly, I don't know how it happened. I went into a deep slumber shortly after I took the seal into my body, and when I woke up, it was as though the entire world had forgotten about cultivation. With that being said, the people living on Earth before it was separated from the 9 heavens were mostly mortals, so that could be a cause. Perhaps the people of this world decided to give up on cultivation altogether, and started focusing on technology instead. Who knows? After all, if you think about it, even a somewhat powerful cultivation can remove mountains with ease, and considering the size of this world, it would be for the best if people stopped cultivation. Let's take you for example, Yuan. At your current level, you are more than capable of destroying this world, and you're only a spirit grandmaster. However, these are all just speculations. I see, Yuan mumbled. After pondering for some time, he spoke. All right, I will leave things here for now. There is a lot of new information that I need to think about and digest. When I'm ready to talk again, I will come back with more questions. Very well. We'll be here whenever you need us. The Lord said. Leah, escort him back and do not be disrespectful to him. The Lord turned to her and said, Oh, one more thing. Do you mind if I tell my friends about the stuff I learned today? Yuan suddenly asked. If you want, just try not to spread it too much. It might cause the entire world to panic. All right. Yuan left the peak of the mountain shortly after. You don't need to follow me all the way. I can get back by myself. Yuan said to the manager after they left the formation. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Say no more. The manager turned around and started walking back to the peak of the mountain without any hesitation. After returning to the peak of the mountain, the manager walked straight to the cave and spoke in a frustrated voice. Why did you lower yourself to him? That wasn't part of the agreement. He's the immortal monarch's descendant. It's only natural for divine beasts to lower their heads before him. That's bullshit. He's not the immortal monarch. He's just a descendant. Descendant or not, as long as he has the bloodline, we are obligated to respect him. This is the will of our ancestors, the will of the 9 ancient beasts. In fact, let me give you a suggestion, Leah. Go serve him. It will benefit you greatly. What? You want me to serve that pervert? Are you insane? I won't do such a thing even if it's the last thing I do. She immediately refused. Those that carry the immortal monarch's bloodline are destined to do great things. There are even divine beasts out there that dream of being beside someone with that bloodline. You should really take advantage of your situation and create a connection with him before he inevitably travels to the 9 heavens with his real body. You sound like you want to be his servant. Why don't you do it then? The Lord shook his head. I would be lying if I say that I don't want to serve him, but I am not worthy to be by his side. You, on the other hand, don't even think about it. I will never serve a human. What a pity. His blood is really tasty, you know? If you become his servant, you might be able to drink his blood very often. Legend also has it that if a divine beast drinks enough of the immortal monarch's blood, they can evolve, becoming more powerful than ever. The manager swallowed nervously after hearing such words, but she quickly shook the idea away. I don't care if he's the immortal monarch's descendant. Even if he's the immortal monarch himself, I will not serve him. I hate humans, and I will never forgive them for their crimes. After saying such words, the manager turned around and disappeared from the scene. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 952. Published at 5th of May, 2022, 3:06 and 13 seconds p.m. Chapter 952. 952. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 952. On the verge of destruction after returning home, Yuan gathered everyone in the faction to let them know the truth about what I am about to say is very shocking, and you might even not believe me, but trust me, it's real. First and foremost, the 9 heavens is real, and our world used to be part of it. The 9 heavens was known as divine heaven before, but something happened, causing it to split into many different pieces. The 9 largest parts of divine heaven became known as the 9 heavens. Earth was too small and had drifted too far away to join the 9 heavens, so we became our own world. However, because of the separation, Earth isn't in a good condition. Hell, you can even say that it's on the verge of destruction. What? Everyone there exclaimed in a shocked voice. Yes, even now, the world is on the verge of collapsing on itself. The only reason it's not is because of the Lord of the Dragon Spiral Mountain. He's keeping this world safe with a powerful formation that surrounds this world. Oh, you should know that the Lord is not human. He's actually a divine beast. Wait. Let me digest a little before you continue. Wang Ming suddenly said. So let me get this straight. This world used to exist in the 9 heavens before it got split into many parts, and it's now on the verge of destruction. However, thanks to the Lord of the Dragon Spiral Mountain, who is not human, the world is safe. Is that it? Yes, that's right. Yuan calmly nodded. Holy shit. I can't believe it. I mean, I believe you, but I am having trouble believing it. How long do you think the Lord will continue protecting this world? Shirlang suddenly asked. If he suddenly decides to give up, or he can no longer support this world, won't that mean the end of the world for us? According to him, he's been protecting this world ever since Earth was separated from the 9 heavens. That's at least a few million years. Yuan said. And he continued, I don't know how long he can continue protecting us, but I doubt it will be forever. I will ask him the next time we meet. Is there anything we can do? I don't like the feeling of entrusting the entire human race to one person. Like Shirlang had mentioned, this Lord could suddenly give up and destroy the world. Yuan pondered for a moment before speaking. I'm just speculating, but perhaps the seal can be passed on to another person. If I become strong enough, I might be able to bear this seal and keep this world safe. With that being said, I will need to seriously increase my cultivation before that can happen. There's another thing we can do. We can all move to the 9 heavens and live there instead. I was going to mention this next, but we can travel to the 9 heavens from here. The Dragon Spiral Mountain is a gateway to the 9 heavens, but we need to activate the gate from both sides before we can travel there. Basically, we will be abandoning Earth, right? Wang Bingbing said. Basically. Yuan nodded. Honestly, there's nothing we can do right but trust the Lord that he will not destroy the world. In the meantime, I will try to see if there is anything I can do to prevent this world from getting destroyed in the future. Sometime later, Yuan continued their conversation. Let's talk about Cultivation Online now. The console that we've all been using has 2 different formations hidden within: the Soul Transference Array and the Soul Avatar Array. Essentially, these arrays transfer a part of our soul to the 9 heavens, and using our soul, it creates our character, allowing us to visit the 9 heavens without actually going there. However, there's the thing. Because our character is our soul, any damages done to our character can actually harm our real bodies. I hope none of you have died in Cultivation Online. Everyone there exchanged shocked looks with each other. Visit Rieadle. Me for extra chapters. I haven't died yet. Me neither. Yuan sighed in relief after hearing that nobody in the faction has died in Cultivation Online. Now that we all know our characters are created using our souls, we should be extra careful with ourselves and try to not get hurt as much as possible, just in case. Yuan turned to face Li Jinsi and continued. Especially you, Jinsi. Out of everyone here, I worry about you the most. You're the type to go overboard and get too excited very quickly. Getting your soul damaged is nothing like hurting your physical body. If your soul is damaged, you could easily become brain dead. Everyone there trembled after hearing such words. Now that you mention it, there are rumors of players who have suddenly become brain dead after dying too many times in Cultivation Online. Wu Zhao suddenly said. I will verify that information later. Hey, if it's actually this dangerous to play Cultivation Online, shouldn't we warn the others and make this information public? Shimorong suddenly asked. I don't think anyone would believe us even if we tried to warn them. Wang Bingbing sighed. Right. They'll probably think we're crazy or something. Chu Liuxiang agreed. We won't say anything to the public for now. Cultivation Online was created by the Celestial Emperor, who is the ruler of the 9 heavens, and not even the Lord knows his purpose for creating Cultivation Online. Also, the Celestial Emperor willingly put all of our lives at risk for his own goals. I don't care what his intentions are, but he's playing with our lives, nor does he seem to care about the consequences. Yuan said with gritted teeth. And I will not let anyone play with our lives, not even if he's the Celestial Emperor. Everyone there swallowed nervously after hearing his words that sounded like a declaration of war to the Celestial Emperor. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 953. Published at 5th of May, 2022, 3:06 and 12 seconds p.m. Chapter 953. 953. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 953. Leaving the Dragon Spiral Mountain. Now that you all know the truth, I am going to tell you my plans. Yuan spoke again after letting the others some time to digest the information. I will first find the Dragon Spiral Mountain within the 9 heavens and activate it. Then I will travel to the 9 heavens and reabsorb my soul. That way, I will be at my full potential. I'm not exactly sure what I am going to do afterward, but I will think of something by then, hopefully. Oh yeah, I should also warn you about techniques that can damage your soul. Since your character is created from your soul, it wouldn't be wise to be struck by such a fatal attack. Therefore, avoid them at all costs. Sometime later, Yuan said to them, anyways, now that is out of the way, I have a small announcement to make. My sister's birthday is coming up soon, and I plan on visiting her, so I won't be here for a few days starting tomorrow. Any questions? Chu Liuxiang immediately raised her hand and said, I wanted to ask you this sooner, but can I go with you? I want to meet you Ro in person this time. I don't mind. Yuan nodded. Thank you. Everyone returned to their own rooms to further think about the information Yuan revealed shortly after. That night, Yuan went to spend the night with Meishio. You're not going to use the love capsules this time? Yuan asked her as they prepared for their love session. No. I was only curious about it last time. Honestly, it doesn't feel right, consuming medicine to enhance my performance. I don't want to rely on medicine to keep up with you. However, I will admit that it was a fun time. I have never been pushed so far past my limit. Yuan smiled and said, I also don't want to rely on those love capsules. Chu Liuxiang said that I will eventually find more partners, and when that happens, I will need the stamina to love them as well. Even though a single love capsule can keep me going for half a day, I don't like the feeling of being out of control, so I will also refrain from using them in the future, and use my own strength to satisfy you. Yuan. Meishio made her advancement and kissed Yuan on the lips. However, right as things started getting intense, Meixia's cell phone started ringing. This is. Meishio swallowed nervously after seeing the name of the caller. Who could be calling so late into the night? Yuan asked her as he stopped moving his body. It's Yuro, Meishio said. Should I answer it? Go ahead. Yuan nodded as he pulled his sword out of Meixia's cave, before laying on the bed beside her. Meishio took a deep breath before accepting the call. Hello. Meishio, is this a good time? Yu Rao's voice was filled with enthusiasm. Yes, I can speak now. Meishio said. Great. Do you know what my brother is doing right now? I was hoping to speak with him. Meishio turned to look at Yuan, who quickly shook his head. Sorry, but Yuan is actually out of the house now. Isn't it nighttime over there? What is he doing out so late? He had to speak with the Lord of the Dragon Spiral Mountain. It seemed very important. Meishio didn't think she'd have to lie to Yuro in such a manner, and she felt like someone who was lying her way out of being caught cheating. I haven't been able to hear brother's voice in so long. I think this is the longest I have ever gone without seeing him or hearing his voice. What did you want to speak with Yuan about? I can tell him for you when he returns. Yuro remained silent for a good moment before finally speaking. It's nothing too important. I just wanted to see if we can schedule a video call in a few days. It's my birthday after all. Do you think my brother even remembers my birthday? Yuro then asked. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Of course. Yuan won't forget something so important. Really? I don't know. It's just been so long. I'm afraid that he's forgotten about me now that he's truly free. Don't be silly, Yuro. You're his precious little sister. He will never forget about you. Meishio reassured her. Then let's put that to the test. Don't tell my brother about this conversation, and don't remind him about my birthday. If he truly remembers, he will be the one contacting me instead. Okay, I won't say anything to Yuan. I promise. Thank you, Meishio. It's almost time for my morning training, so I leave now. I will call you again later to listen to your stories. See you later, Yuro. After closing the phone, Meishio turned to look at Yuan and said, Technically, you overheard our conversation, so I didn't tell you again. Yuan showed a bittersweet smile and said, That silly girl is worried that I might have forgotten about her? My one and only sister? Not going to lie, I feel a little sad. And in order to make sure that she will never have such worries again, I will give her the best birthday present ever. What do you have in mind? Meishio asked out of curiosity. I will tell you when we're on the plane tomorrow. The two of them resumed their business with each other shortly after. The following morning, Yuan, Meishio, and Chu Liuxiang left the Dragon Spiral Mountain in a car, and made their way to the airport. On their way to the airport, Yuan made sure to tell Chu Liuxiang that his relationship with them must be kept a secret. I don't mind keeping our relationship a secret, but if she asks me, I will tell her that I love you. Not that she doesn't know that already. Chu Liuxiang chuckled. Sometime later, the three of them boarded the airplane and started flying towards Yu Rao's location. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 954. Published at 5th of May, 2022, 3:06 and 11 seconds p.m. Chapter 954. 954 If audio player doesn't work, Press stop then play button again. Chapter 954. Player Yuan's face. So what are your plans? What do you plan on giving Yu for her birthday? Meishio asked Yuan shortly after the plane took off. Well, first of all, I need to meet with White Lotus and schedule my visit to their faction. As for Yu-Rao's birthday present, I am going to give her a concert. Yuan said. A concert? Like the one you gave before she left? Meishio raised her eyebrows. You cannot call that a concert. I meant a real concert. And it will not be under my alias, Tianyang. I will be going as Yu Tian. Meixia's jaw dropped slightly upon hearing his words. I am done hiding. I will let the world know that I have returned. I'm sure this will make Yu happier than any physical gift I can buy her. What about the Yu family? They will definitely try to force you to return. Chu Liuxiang asked. What about them? I am no longer in the family, and they even disowned me. Yuan said. That might not be the case. Chu Liuxiang shook her head, and she continued. Even though they have disowned you, you are still legally Yu Tian and part of the Yu family. Furthermore, I'm sure that you'd signed some contracts with the Yu family when you were still young and active, which will most likely legally bind you to their company. Lulu is right, Yuan. Meishio said. You probably don't remember this, but your parents made you sign this contract that legally binds you to their company, forever. And unlike my mother, you cannot buy your way out of the contract. The only way to leave is if the Yu family willingly destroys the contract. What the hell? That sounds illegal. And wouldn't I be too young to sign contracts? Yuan said. Not if they altered the contract without your knowledge, and made it look like you signed it at a legal age. It's a common trick in the industry. Chu Liuxiang said. Yuan sighed. I'm not surprised. However, that won't stop my return. They can try whatever they want, but I am now strong enough to fight back. If they try anything funny, I will destroy the entire Yu family. What about you, Meishio? Do you plan on giving anything to Yu? Well, I have been thinking about it, but I don't know what to give her. I have never given her a birthday gift since it wasn't appropriate for me, her servant, to do so. I think she will be happy with anything you give her. It's the thought that truly counts. What about you? Meishio suddenly turned to Chu Liuxiang and asked her. Unfortunately, I don't know Yu enough to buy something. Of course, I could just buy something random, like buying gifts for a stranger I have never met, but that doesn't sit right with me, so I am going to try and understand Yu as much as I can so that I can buy something worthy for her next year. Sometime later, Meishio asked. By the way, how are you going to start a concert? We only have 3 days until Yu-Rao's birthday, 2.5 if you consider how long it will take us to get there. It's not going to be an official concert. I'm just going to set up a public concert and do it there. I've already asked the Cultivators Association to help me with the setup. They happily agreed. I see. Many hours later at the Eternal Lotus's headquarters. Miss Bai, your ride is prepared. We can leave whenever. Player Yuan's plane should arrive in 2 hours. Her manager notified her. I understand. We'll leave in 5 minutes. Understood. Sometime later, White Lotus secretly left the headquarters with her manager to meet with Yuan. About half an hour later, they arrived at the most luxurious and famous hotel in the entire White Lotus. Indeed, it was named after White Lotus by her family, who owned the hotel. Welcome, young lady. The manager of the hotel personally greeted her at the front door. Are the preparations ready? She asked him. Yes. The entire balcony has been reserved for the young lady, and our best chefs are all here today. Good. White Lotus nodded. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. The young lady sure is dressed elegantly today. Just who is she meeting today? The hotel manager wondered inwardly as he gazed upon White Lotus' beautiful appearance that attracted the attention of everyone there. How long until he arrives? White Lotus asked her manager. The plane will land in 30 minutes. He should arrive approximately in 1 hour and 20 minutes. And his ride? Already at the airport waiting for his arrival. I'm going to double-check my appearance. You should also go to the airport to make sure his arrival is as smooth as possible. White Lotus said before leaving. I understand. I haven't seen her this motivated and serious in such a long time. It's almost like she's meeting with her crush. Even though she says that she's not nervous, anyone can tell that's a lie. The manager couldn't help but smile inwardly. Half an hour later, Yuan's plane landed in the airport. After leaving the airplane, Yuan immediately noticed three conspicuous beautiful women standing at his terminal, and they were dressed in a black suit, almost like they were from the Secret Service. Yuan immediately approached these three women after seeing the sign one of them was holding that had a single word on it, birthday. Are you with White Lotus? Yuan asked them. You must be player Yuan. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. I am White Lotus personal manager, Jasmine. These two behind me will be your bodyguard for today. So this is what the famous player Yuan looks like. These three ladies thought to themselves as they stared at Yuan's handsome face. They expected him to be wearing a mask to protect his identity like in Cultivation Online, but the only thing he was wearing on his face was a pair of sunglasses, which was out of their expectations. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 955. Published at 5th of May, 2022, 3:06 and 10 seconds p.m. Chapter 955. 955. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 955. Meeting White Lotus in person. Just call me Yuan. He said to the three ladies. By the way, these are my friends, Meixiu and Chu Liuxiang. They will be visiting my sister as well. I understand. Jasmine nodded calmly. However, she was inwardly shocked by Yuan's appearance. Our investigations on Yu Rao's only brother, Yu Tian, said that he had suffered an unknown illness when he was at a very young age, becoming a cripple that couldn't even leave the bed without someone helping him. But he looks perfectly healthy to me. Our car is outside. Well, bring you to White Lotus, she said a moment later. Yuan and the others followed these ladies outside to their limousine. Yuan's group and Jasmine and one of the bodyguards sat in the back while the second bodyguard drove the limousine. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me, Jasmine said to them. Sure. However, the ride to the hotel where White Lotus was waiting was much more quiet than Jasmine had anticipated. Neither Yuan nor the other two spoke a single word for the entire trip, which made Jasmine and the bodyguards quite nervous, as they were worried that something was troubling them. Jasmine wanted to start a conversation with Yuan multiple times, but she was worried that she might bother them by doing so. In the end, she decided to remain silent and spent the entire trip staring at Yuan's face, who was silently staring in front of him. Although it looked like Yuan had turned into a stone statue, he was actually enjoying the view of the city with his divine sense. As for Meixiu and Chu Liuxiang, they had their eyes closed, almost as though they were trying to sleep. Truth was, they had nothing to say, so they just closed their eyes and patiently waited for them to arrive at their destination. About 20 minutes later, the limousine came to a complete stop, and Jasmine spoke. We have arrived at our destination, Yuan. This hotel. Yuan noticed the name of this hotel to be the same as White Lotus, and this made him curious. This is the White Lotus Hotel. It's the highest rated and most luxurious hotel in the entire city. The hotel is also owned by the Bai family. In case you didn't know already, White Lotus' real name is Bai Lianhua. As for why the hotel is named after White Lotus, her parents were the one who came up with this idea. The moment Yuan stepped out of the car, he noticed a beautiful woman with a familiar face approaching their direction, her silky white hair flowing behind her back like a cape. He turned to greet her with a gentle smile on his face. Hello, White Lotus. Thank you for coming all the way out here for us. It's my pleasure, Yuan. How was your journey here? I hope it was comfortable. White Lotus returned his smile with one of her own, but she was inwardly shocked for the same reason that shocked Jasmine. Did something go wrong with our intel? He looks nothing like a cripple. She cried inwardly. She's quite the woman, don't you think so? Chu Liuxiang whispered to Meixiu. She nodded her head and said, quite bold with her appearance too. White Lotus was wearing a white dress that complemented her silky hair and tall figure perfectly, but it was also quite revealing, especially the area around her chest that barely covered her bare breasts. She's definitely trying to seduce Yuan with her big boobs. I must admit, they're a size or two bigger than ours. Chu Liuxiang whispered to Meishio, who was speechless. Let me introduce you to my friends. This is Meishio, who used to work for my sister. And this is Chu Liuxiang, my childhood friend. They're also here to celebrate Yu Rao's birthday. Yuan calmly introduced his companions to White Lotus. White Lotus looked at Meishio and Chu Liuxiang and smiled. Nice to meet you. He's visiting his sister on her birthday with two beautiful women by his side? What is their relationship with him? She wondered inwardly. Yuan and the others followed White Lotus into the hotel shortly after while the workers there handled their luggage. Do you want to visit your rooms now? I'm sure you're tired after your long flight. White Lotus asked them. We're fine. We had plenty of sleep on the plane. Yuan said. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. With that being said, I am quite hungry. Then let's head to the restaurant first. Sometime later, they arrived at the roof of the hotel, where they could see the majority of the city without any obstruction. Wow, what beautiful scenery. Chu Liuxiang said out loud. I'm glad you like it. White Lotus led them to the only table there. Once they were all seated, White Lotus said, Order anything you want and don't worry about the bill. Yuan looked at the menu that was much smaller than what he was used to. Because he has never eaten at an expensive restaurant, he did not know that most luxurious restaurants like this offer a smaller menu to keep the food quality higher. I will have everything on the menu. Yuan said after a glance at the menu. Everything. White Lotus and the waiter were taken aback by his words. Don't worry, I won't waste any food. Yuan smiled at them. Sometime later, once all of their orders were taken, the waiter rushed to the kitchen and told the chefs to cook everything on the menu and some more. What? I was told that we would only be serving very few guests, not several families. The chefs were baffled by the news. Despite their shock, the chefs immediately began their work, causing the temperature in the kitchen to rise very quickly. While they waited, White Lotus started the conversation by saying to Yuan, By the way, those sunglasses look really good on you. Thank you, but I am not wearing these for fashion. To tell you the truth, I am actually blind. Yuan said with a smile. Blind. White Lotus was at loss for words. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip, you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 956. Published at 6th of May, 2022, 1:09 and 11 seconds p.m. Chapter 956. 956 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 956. Who are you trying to seduce? How can he be blind? He's walking around just fine without any support. White Lotus wondered to herself after hearing Yuan's seemingly outrageous claim. Yuan smiled and removed his sunglasses, revealing to her his silver eyes. White Lotus covered her mouth in shock and asked in a trembling voice, I'm sorry, but how? Once you reach Spirit Master, you will be able to use something called Divine Sense, which will allow you to see your surroundings without needing to use your actual eyes. It's a very convenient skill, and you can even see things that you normally wouldn't be able to see with your bare eyes. Why, you're already a Spirit Master? White Lotus was shocked once again. I am still only at the 3rd level of Spirit Warrior, yet he's already a Spirit Master. How does he progress so fast? Actually, I am a Spirit Grandmaster right now. Yuan said. What? White Lotus stood up from shock and shouted, startling them. Excuse me. White Lotus quickly realized her mistake and sat back down with her face slightly rosy. If I recall correctly, even the 2nd strongest player is only a peak Spirit Master. If we don't include the person himself, this guy has managed to surpass the strongest cultivator in the real world. This achievement is nothing short of absurd. She cried inwardly. It was at this moment that White Lotus realized just how much she and the rest of the world were underestimating him. I must rope him into my family at all cost. Even if he doesn't join us, I want to maintain a good relationship with him. Fortunately for us, his younger sister is a member of our faction. This gives us a massive advantage over the others. White Lotus was getting more nervous with every passing moment, and the mission her family assigned her resounded louder and clearer. Player Yuan must join our Bai family. You must do whatever you can to win him over, even if you have to use your own body. Are you okay? You don't seem very well. Yuan suddenly asked her after noticing her pale complexion. Yeah. Sorry, I was just thinking about some things. I am fine. White Lotus immediately fixed her expression, and even put a charming smile on her face. Anyways, let's talk about your purpose here. To surprise you, Ro. I already have everything planned to make sure your surprise visit is a success. Actually, about that, there's been a change of plans. Huh? What do you mean? Well, I have decided to surprise you, Ro, in a different manner. There will be a public concert on the day of her birthday. I want you to bring Ro to the concert without letting her realize the truth. I'm sorry if this will inconvenience you. Yuan explained. Of course not. I will make sure to send Ro to the concert without fail. But does this mean you no longer want to visit our Eternal Lotus's headquarters? White Lotus asked. I don't want to trouble you or your faction since. It's no trouble at all. And since I have already prepared for your visit at the faction, it would be a waste if you didn't show up. If you say it like that, I guess I can visit your faction and see for myself how my sister has been living lately. Yuan nodded. The food arrived shortly after, and they stopped talking temporarily to eat. Wow, this food is delicious, Yuan said in a pleasantly surprised voice as he constantly shoved food inside his mouth. I'm glad you enjoy it. White Lotus smiled. An hour later, he really finished everything. White Lotus was impressed by Yuan's eating talent. After the workers there cleaned up the table, they resumed their conversation. There's still another 2 days before Rao's birthday. What do you plan on doing until then? White Lotus asked. Well, probably just look around the city. Meishio still needs to buy Ro a birthday present too. I see. Then do you mind if I tag along with you guys? I can be your guide. White Lotus asked. Are you sure? What about your faction? Won't they become suspicious if you're gone for too long? Visit Readel. Me for extra chapters. It's fine. I rarely get involved with the members anyway. And it's only for 2 days. I have been gone for longer before. Oh, if you're worried that I might attract too much attention, I can go in a disguise. You're even going as far as disguising yourself? I kind of feel bad for making you do so much work just to guide us around. It's fine. It's also my desire to spend more time with you. White Lotus said with a slightly blushing face. There's still a lot I want to talk to you about too. Especially after our conversation in Cultivation Online. If you really want to come with us, I won't stop you. Yuan said a moment later. Thank you. White Lotus showed a beaming smile. However, that smile would disappear a moment later when someone shouted. Wait. You can't go out there. Do you know who I am? Get out of my way. I have business with White Lotus and the bastard she's meeting with. I know she's out there. Hey. A tall figure suddenly stormed through the guards and onto the roof, where Yuan and the others were. Who's that? Yuan asked. I'm really sorry. That's Zheng Weimin, and he's been infatuated with me for a while now, to the point where he's stalking me. Don't worry, I will deal with him immediately. White Lotus left the table and approached the young man. Zheng Weimin, I don't remember inviting you. How dare you barge in here and disturb my important meeting with an esteemed guest? I will give you 3 seconds to turn around and leave before I toss you out myself. Zheng Weimin pointed at her body with trembling hands and roared. Look at you. Who are you trying to seduce with such a slutty dress? He then turned to look at Yuan and continued. Is it him? Is that the bastard you're trying to seduce? Not on my watch. Wow. What a guy. Chu Liuxiang mumbled, finding the situation to be incredibly amusing for some reason. And, this is the bonus chapter for reaching 1K Power Stones for Magic System in a parallel world. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 957. Published at 6th of May, 2022, 3:57 and 22 seconds p.m. Chapter 957. 957 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 957. Young Master Zheng, that's it. I have had enough of your nonsense. White Lotus started approaching Zheng Weimin aggressively. What do you think you're doing, White Lotus? Do you really dare to lay your hands on me? In case you forgot, your Bai family is only ranked 7th in the legacy ranking whilst my Zheng family is ranked 5th, not even mentioning our allies. Touch even a hair on my body, and I will start a war with your Bai family. White Lotus gritted her teeth in frustration. I don't care even if you're ranked 1st in the legacy ranking. I will not forgive you for your actions today. White Lotus. Yuan's calm voice suddenly resounded, causing her to halt and turn to look at him. That anger does not suit your face, he said with a smile. White Lotus' face immediately flushed with redness. When Zheng Weimin saw White Lotus' face, his anger skyrocketed to a new level, and he immediately started power walking towards Yuan's table. Wait! White Lotus tried to stop him, but Yuan gestured for her to stop. Yuan stood up from his seat and faced Zheng Weimin directly. I don't know who you are, but you have guts. I will give you that. Yuan smiled and said, I don't know what business you have with White Lotus, but can you do it another time? We're having an important conversation right now. I don't give a rat's ass about your conversation. Nobody talks to my woman without my permission. That's not very reasonable. Yuan shook his head in a pitiful manner. Reasoning? Ha! Who cares about reasoning? Do you know who I am? My surname is Zhang. My family is ranked 5 in the legacy ranking. Legacy? I wonder if they have anything to do with the 7 legacy families in the 9 heavens. Yuan wondered inwardly. Sorry, but I'm not really knowledgeable about the legacy ranking, so your words mean nothing to me. Don't worry, the only words you need to understand are, if you dare come near my woman again, I will make you regret being born. Zheng Weimin suddenly glanced at Meixiu and Chu Liuxiang and grinned. Are they your women? They're not bad. How about I take them from you so you know how it feels? Let's not involve my friends in your nonsense. And who are you to stop me? Zheng Weimin suddenly moved and reached for Meixiu with his claw-like hands. However, before he could even get close to Meixiu, Yuan extended his hands and grabbed Zheng Weimin by the neck faster than one can blink their eyes. Get your hands off young Master Zheng. His guards that had been in the background started flooding the roof, even pointing their pistols at Yuan. However, Yuan acted like he couldn't even see them and proceeded to walk towards the edge of the building with Zheng Weimin still in his hold. The guards didn't dare to actually shoot their guns, as they were afraid of hitting Zheng Weimin by accident. Once Yuan was at the edge of the building, everybody there expected him to stop, but to their absolute shock, Yuan continued walking off the edge of the building. Are you insane? Young Master. The guards and White Lotus freaked out when they saw this. However, contrary to their expectations, Yuan didn't fall off the building and actually continued walking in the air, almost as though there was an invisible platform underneath him. What the hell is going on? White Lotus mumbled in a dazed voice, wondering if her eyes were playing tricks on her. Once he was a few meters away from the roof, Yuan stopped walking and spoke in a calm voice. I don't care if you badmouth me, but don't you dare try to touch my precious friends with your dirty hands. Zheng Weimin wanted to scream, but Yuan had cut off his voice by choking him. He also wanted to break free from Yuan's grasp, but seeing that the floor was hundreds of meters at the bottom, he didn't dare to even move, as he would fall to his death from this height even with his first-level Spirit Warrior cultivation base. Visit Readle. Me for extra chapters. I have killed thousands of people inside Cultivation Online, but I have never killed someone in this world. Do you wish to be the first? Yuan asked him in a cold voice. No. Zheng Weimin muttered in a mosquito-like voice. Too late. Yuan suddenly released his hold on Zheng Weimin, letting him fall down. Ahaha. I don't want to die. Zheng Weimin cried in a hysterical voice as his bladder gave up on him during the free fall. Humph. When Zheng Weimin was a moment away from turning into meat paste on the street, Yuan caught him and flew back to the roof of the hotel. Once they were on the roof again, Yuan tossed Zheng Weimin, who had lost consciousness and sullied his pants, in front of his guards. "Get that fool out of here. He's dirtying this place with his filth. Oh, and tell him to stop bothering White Lotus when he wakes up," Yuan said to the guards, who were in a daze trying to comprehend what they'd just witnessed. "Guards, get them out of here," White Lotus shouted after snapping out of her daze. Very quickly, the guards working for her escorted Zheng Weiman and his men out of the hotel. "I'm really sorry about what just happened. I will make this up to you. I swear." White Lotus apologized to them with her head lowered. Yuan casually waved his hand. "Don't worry about it. You can put all of the blame on that guy." Once White Lotus calmed down, she asked him, "By the way, what on earth was that just now? You were flying?" Yuan interrupted. She nodded eagerly. "You'll be able to fly as well once you reach Spirit Grandmaster," he said. Although he wasn't able to immediately start flying after reaching Spirit Grandmaster, and had to rely on his sword to fly, he practiced his chi manifestation almost every day and managed to finally fly just a week ago. "No way," White Lotus muttered in a baffled voice, still not daring to believe it. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters." Chapter 958. Published at 6th of May, 2022, 3:57 and 21 seconds p.m. Chapter 958. 958 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 958. Legacy ranking. Do you want to try it? Yuan suddenly asked. Try? Try what? Flying. White Lotus swallowed nervously after hearing his words, and the scene of Yuan soaring through the clouds while carrying her like a princess appeared in her mind. "Are you sure? I might be a little heavy," White Lotus said with a stiff smile. Although she really wanted to experience flying in the sky, she didn't have the courage to accept his offer, especially when she's wearing such a revealing dress. "Don't worry, I'll be fine." Yuan smiled. After a moment of silence, White Lotus nodded in a bashful manner. "Then I'll accept your offer." Hearing her words, Yuan summoned the Empyrean Overlord and pointed at it. "Go ahead. Stand on it." "Huh." White Lotus looked at him with a dumbfounded face. "I'll carry you around with my flying sword. It'll feel much better than having me carry you in my arms." "Oh. All right." White Lotus nodded, feeling a little disappointed that Yuan will not be carrying her. Once she was standing on the Empyrean Overlord, White Lotus asked, "By the way, where did this sword come from?" Yuan chuckled. "I will explain it another day since it's a bit complicated." White Lotus nodded and didn't question any further. "Is this your first time riding a flying sword? Have you done it before in?" "This is my first time," she said. "Then I will hold your hand until you're comfortable with letting go." Yuan offered his hand to White Lotus, who immediately accepted it without hesitation. "I will be back in a bit," Yuan said to Meishio and Chu Liuxiang. "Have fun." Chu Liuxiang waved at them. Yuan flew into the air with White Lotus shortly after. White Lotus immediately tightened her grasp on Yuan's hands after feeling the sword move. They started out slow, gradually increasing their flying speed until they maxed out at 20 miles per hour. "What do you think about flying?" Yuan asked White Lotus. "It's a little scary being this high up, but I really enjoy it." "How long can you maintain being in the air?" She then asked. "I can fly for an hour straight if I were by myself, but since I am also carrying you, I will only be able to fly for about half an hour." Want to see more chapters? Please visit PANDANOVEL.COMIC. "Are you ready to let go of my hand?" Yuan asked her a few moments later. "Yes." White Lotus nodded, and she slowly relaxed her hands. "How am I doing?" she asked him afterward. "You're doing great. Do you want me to speed up more?" "Sure." Yuan increased their speed by another 5 miles per hour after White Lotus approval. "How fast does this thing go?" White Lotus asked out of curiosity. "Do you want to see for yourself?" Yuan smiled at her. White Lotus swallowed nervously, but she nodded her head regardless. "Brace yourself." I will go at maximum speed in 3, 2, 1. Whoosh. The flying sword suddenly quadrupled in speed, going at nearly 100 miles per hour. Visit Readle.me for extra chapters. Ah! White Lotus shouted, as she was not expecting such an explosive boost. After remaining on the sword for a few seconds, White Lotus could no longer keep up with the speed, and actually fell off the flying sword, and she started plunging towards the ground. Yuan, she cried out loud. Yuan quickly went to catch her. Are you okay? He asked her. Yes, but that was horrifying. I now understand how Zheng Weimin felt when you dropped him. White Lotus sighed in relief. Once she calmed down, she realized that Yuan was carrying her like a princess, and one of his hands was even touching her breasts. White Lotus blushed when she felt Yuan's fingers firmly pressing against the side of her breasts, but she kept her mouth closed and didn't say anything, silently enjoying the situation. By the way, Yuan suddenly spoke, the Zheng family might try to cause trouble for your family after what happened today. If that happens, you can let me know and I will do my best to assist your family. I hate people who think they can do anything because of their status. People like Zheng Weimin. Thank you, Yuan. I will remember your words. But my Bai family is not weak. If the Zheng family wishes to bully us, we will not stay silent and fight back. After pondering for a bit, Yuan said, I was not lying when I said that I don't know much about the legacy ranking. While I prefer staying out of their business, I have a feeling that I will encounter more people like Zheng Weimin in the future, so I might as well gather information now. You want to know more about the legacy ranking, right? I will tell you everything you need to know whenever you want. White Lotus said. Thank you. After flying around for a few more minutes, Yuan returned to the hotel with White Lotus still in his arms. Thank you for the wonderful experience, Yuan. I will never forget it for the rest of my life. White Lotus said to him with a beautiful smile on her face. I had fun too. Sometime later, they returned to the table. After ordering some drinks, White Lotus began explaining to them the legacy ranking and how it works. There are 100 slots in the legacy ranking from rank 1 to rank 100. In order to join the legacy ranking, you must have one thing, results. As you probably know, video games have been immensely popular even before Cultivation Online's existence, so much so that it has ingrained itself into the majority of people's lives, where over half of the world's population play games to make a living. With how important video games have become in our world, it was only natural for people to want to monetize it. One thing led to another, and the legacy ranking was born, where families from all over the world fight for the top rankings in whichever video game is chosen to be the focus for that decade. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 959. Published at 7th of May, 2022, 2:48 and 10 seconds p.m. Chapter 959. 959 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 959. I want him dead. Besides wealth and fame, what do you get for being part of the legacy ranking? Yuan asked. Influence and social status. White Lotus calmly replied. I get the meaning behind the legacy ranking, but how does it actually work? Chu Liuxiang suddenly asked. If we're going by rankings, doesn't it mean Yuan, who is the current number 1 player number 1 in the legacy ranking? Yes and no. In order to enter the legacy ranking, you must participate in a tournament that is held every year. You need at least 10 people in your family to participate. While Yuan is, without doubt, the number 1 player it doesn't mean he will automatically take first place in the legacy ranking. Yuan, why don't you join this year's tournament and show the legacy families who's boss? Chu Liuxiang chuckled at this idea. White Lotus immediately started sweating after hearing Chu Liuxiang's words. Actually, since Yuan doesn't belong to any family, I think it would be for the best if he joined another family. Of course, I am not just saying this so I can recruit you into our family. Even though I would love to. The other legacy families won't like it if a newly created family suddenly becomes rank 1. and they will probably do everything in their power to prevent it from happening. So what you're saying is, they will try to mess with Yuan if he tries to join with his own family, Meishio said. Unfortunately, that is exactly what will happen. White Lotus sighed. However, if you really want to start your own family, you can try forming alliances with other legacy families. What about factions? Can I join with my faction? Yuan suddenly asked. Actually, yes, you can. It was implemented just recently, but factions are now able to participate in the legacy ranking. Are you really planning on joining the legacy ranking with your faction? White Lotus looked at Yuan with a nervous gaze. Honestly, I couldn't care less about the legacy ranking. Whether it be wealth or influence, it doesn't mean anything to me. I created the faction so that I can always be with the people that are close to me. That's all. I see. White Lotus was relieved to hear Yuan's words. If he won't be participating in the legacy ranking, it won't be as chaotic and stressful. However, nothing is set in stone and it is still too early to tell if Yuan will affect this year's legacy ranking. Sometime later, White Lotus brought Yuan and the others to their rooms. You can use these 3 rooms for as long as you please. They are the best we have in the hotel. Thank you, they said. After picking their own rooms, they moved their luggage inside. Do you plan on walking around the city anytime soon? White Lotus asked them shortly after. We plan on doing it now. Yuan nodded. Can you give me a few minutes to prepare my disguise? White Lotus then asked. Sure. Thank you very much. White Lotus went into the room right beside their room and proceeded to disguise herself. A few minutes later, she returned to their side with a completely different appearance. Her hair turned blonde, and even her eyes changed to a beautiful green color. As for her dress, she changed it into something more casual, and she even went out of her way to wear sunglasses like Yuan. How do I look? She asked them. I wouldn't recognize you if I didn't know your identity beforehand. Yuan smiled. That's great. They left the hotel shortly after and started walking around the city. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Of course, even with White Lotus disguised, their group still attracted plenty of attention because of Meishio and Chu Liuxiang. Meanwhile, at the Zheng family's headquarters, Zheng Weimin was lying in his bed when he suddenly woke up screaming, "Aya! Help me! I am falling!" Young master, calm down. You're not falling. His servants quickly attended him. What? Zheng Weimin looked at his surroundings with a puzzled face, his back soaked in cold sweat. Where am I? What happened? You're in your own room right now, young master. You lost consciousness after what happened, so we carried you back here. The servants did not dare to mention that had sullied his pants, so they left that detail out. That bastard. How dare he embarrass me in front of White Lotus? I want him dead. Zheng Weimin roared. The servants started sweating, and they quickly reminded him of what happened. Young master, are you sure that's a good idea? That man could fly. Do you really think humans can fly? This is not cultivation online. He was obviously using some kind of trick to make it seem like he was flying. Zheng Weimin shouted, clearly in denial. I believe we should investigate his identity before we act. Then hurry up and investigate him. I want to know everything about him. His family, his friends, everything. Just you wait. I will show you what happens when you offend me. I am going to crush you and your insignificant life. I also want the Bai family to be held responsible for what happened today. Call my father and tell him that White Lotus from the Bai family has assaulted me today. The servants quickly went to work after hearing Zheng Weimin's words. Despite knowing that Zheng Weimin was being unreasonable, they could not defy his orders, and they were already used to it. Sometime later, after hearing about what had happened to his precious son, and how had almost died today, the head of the Zheng family immediately contacted the Bai family, demanding an explanation. Of course, the Bai family had expected their contact, and even prepared for it. While the Zheng family was oblivious of Yuan's identity, the Bai family knew very well that he was the one behind the incident today, so they took advantage of their knowledge to mess with the Zheng family. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: You can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 960. Published at 7th of May, 2022, 2:48 and 9 seconds p.m. Chapter 960. 960 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 960. Meeting between two legacy families inside a private room. The patriarch of the Bai family stood before a projector that was projecting a video call. On the other side of the call was the patriarch of the Zheng family. The two of them had decided to video call each other to talk about the recent incident between White Lotus and Zheng Weimin. You claim that your son Zheng Weimin had gone to visit my daughter by Lianhua and returned beaten and humiliated without any good reason. But I heard a different story from my daughter. She claims that your son Zheng Weimin had rudely forced himself into a private meeting between my daughter and her clients. Not only that, he even insulted my daughter and her clients. That's a load of bullshit by Ming Yao. My son went to visit your daughter because he had something important to tell her, but he was assaulted and humiliated before he could even speak with her. He was even beaten unconscious. Zheng Yi, there's no need to sugar your words. We both know that your son is obsessed with my daughter. We have told your Zheng family many times that Bai Lianhua does not wish to be with Zheng Weimin, yet he keeps on causing trouble for her, which causes trouble for my family. Bai Mengyao shook his head. Don't try to change the subject, Bai Mengyao. We're talking about how your daughter attacked my son. No matter their relationship, that won't change the fact that my son had been beaten by her. Zheng Yi slammed his desk in anger. Now that's where you're wrong. Bai Mengyao shook his head again. How am I wrong? My daughter did not lay a hand on your son. It was her client who had an altercation with Zheng Weimin, so you're speaking with the wrong person right now. If you really want to seek justice for your son, you should probably go speak with the young man who felt the need to beat your son. Though, I'm sure he has a good reason, especially considering Zheng Weimin's bad reputation. Zheng Weimin gritted his teeth in frustration. He knew that White Lotus hadn't touched his son. However, he could not let go the chance to blame the Bai family that has been refusing to give their Zheng family face for years now by rejecting Zheng Weimin's proposal to White Lotus. I don't care if your daughter touched him or not. As the host, she should have kept her client in check. Like how we're responsible for our dog's actions, White Lotus is responsible for her client's actions. Bai Mengyao suddenly laughed out loud. What's so funny? Zheng Yi frowned. My daughter should keep that person in check? You have no idea who her client even is. Let me warn you, Zheng Yi, that young man your son had offended is not someone the Zheng family can afford to offend. Much less my Bai family. What? Someone even my family cannot offend. The frown on Zheng Ye's face sank even further down. There is nobody that my Zheng family cannot handle. We may be ranked 5th in the legacy ranking, but our influence surpasses even the 3rd rank. Suit yourself. And don't even bother trying to ask me for information on that person. I don't feel like offending him, so if you'll excuse me, I have other business that I need to attend. Don't you dare run away from. Bai Mengyao ignored him and closed the video call. What a pain in the ass. However, this is a good opportunity to see just how powerful this player Yuan is. He may be powerful in Cultivation Online, but the real world is a whole different game. Will he be able to deal with the Zheng family, like how Head dealt with the Cultivators Association? Bai Mengyao kind of hoped that Yuan would get pushed into a corner by the Zheng family, so that his Bai family could come to his rescue and make him owe their family. Sometime later, the Bai family contacted White Lotus to notify her of the situation. I understand. I will warn him. After closing the line, White Lotus said to Yuan, it appears that the Zheng family had tried to pressure my family. Is your family okay? He asked. For now, yes, but there's a good chance that the Zheng family will continue to harass my family until we compromise. My family also told me to warn you that the Zheng family will be coming after you as well. Visit Readle. Me for extra chapters. Why am I not surprised? Yuan shook his head. Knowing the Zheng family, they will go after your friends and family if they learn of your true identity as Yutian. However, only very few higher-ups in my family, myself and Jasmine, know that. White Lotus said. Honestly, I don't care even if they find out about my identity. I will even be grateful to them if they cause trouble to the Yu family. Yuan chuckled. What about you, Ro? White Lotus looked at him with raised eyebrows. Your faction will protect her, right? Of course. I swear on my name and reputation as the leader of the faction that no harm will come to your sister, Yu Ro. She immediately responded. Yuan smiled and said, Thank you, but if they really target Yu Ro, your faction won't have the chance to protect her, as I will destroy the entire Zheng family before they can even act. White Lotus swallowed nervously after seeing how Yuan spoke about crushing the Zheng family, so causally. It was almost like the Zheng family couldn't even be considered ants in his eyes. Just how powerful are you, Yuan? White Lotus sighed inwardly. Their group continued to wander the city without a care in the world, almost like their trouble with the Zheng family was non-existent. At the end of the day, they returned back to the hotel. I couldn't find a birthday present for you, Ro, today, even though we looked at many stores, Meishio sighed. Don't worry, you still have tomorrow. Chu Liuxiang said to her. I guess. Shortly after returning to the hotel, White Lotus invited them for dinner, which they accepted. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 961. Published at 8th of May, 2022, for 57 and 26 seconds p.m. Chapter 961. 961. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 961. Nightmare in broad daylight. Wow, it's like a whole different world up here at night. Chu Liuxiang stared at the city from the roof of the hotel, as they waited for the food to arrive. The Dragon Spiral Mountain may have much better spiritual energy, but it cannot compare to this place when it comes to scenery. You're free to move to this hotel if you want. White Lotus said in a joking voice. Dinner lasted for about an hour and a half. Afterward, everyone retired in their own room. I will see you all tomorrow. White Lotus said to them. Yes, good night. After a quick shower, Yuan entered the massive bed that could easily fit 6 people and laid there. It's been a while since I've slept alone in a bed. Yuan realized this fact very quickly. Inside Chu Luxiang's room, she stared at the cold, empty bed inside. I've gotten too comfortable sleeping with Yuan that I'd forgotten how it feels sleeping alone. Meanwhile, White Lotus received a phone call from her family. What's the situation now? White Lotus father, Bai Mingyao asked. We just finished dinner and the guests are resting in their room, she said. How is Yuan? He's doing great. It's almost like the incident this morning with Zheng Weimin never happened for him. I see. What about you? How do you feel after spending an entire day with him? Let me hear your impressions. Yuan is a very charming young man. I can tell that he's a genuinely kind person. He's also very humble considering his reputation. I would have never guessed that he was player Yuan if I didn't already know it beforehand. However, I have to admit he's also a little scary, especially when angered. He's someone that I wouldn't want to offend. Bai Mingyao suddenly started laughing behind the phone. What a surprise! To think that my daughter, who has always disliked men, would have such a high impression on this young man. White Lotus blushed after hearing her father's words. A few moments later, Bai Mingyao stopped laughing and spoke in a serious voice. I'm glad that you like him. However, the real question is, when will you make your move on him? White Lotus turned silent for a moment before speaking. I think it's a little too early. The slower you move, the more time you give others. I know, but I really don't think I should move now. The 2 women Yuan brought with him. They're both incredibly beautiful and charming young ladies, and despite acting like they're only friends with each other, I have no doubt that they're his lovers. It wouldn't be a wise choice for me to invade their territory at this moment. In fact, I will most likely need their approval before I can join them. If I force myself into their relationship, it would only have a negative effect. Bai Mingyao took several moments to ponder about White Lotus' words. Fine, you don't have to seduce him now. However, don't wait too long. Yes, father. White Lotus released a deep sigh after hanging up the phone, feeling immense pressure on her shoulders. Although I don't mind having Yuan as my partner. Can I even seduce someone like him? Do I have what it takes to accept the fact that there will be other women in his life? The thought of sharing my husband with other women has never even crossed my mind. This is ridiculous. Panda novel White Lotus proceeded to ponder her situation for the rest of the night. The following morning after eating breakfast, Yuan and the others left the hotel for another day of touring the city. I really hope that I find a present for Yuro today. Meishio sighed inwardly as they walked from shop to shop. After touring the city for the whole morning, White Lotus suggested to them, "Let's get some lunch. I know of the perfect restaurant, and it's only a few blocks away from this place." "That's a good idea." Yuan nodded. "Visit Riedel. Me for extra chapters. Let's go." The other two also agreed. "Great. Follow me." On their way to the restaurant, White Lotus would talk about her previous experience there. Halfway there, right as they reached the end of the street and was stopped by the red traffic light, Yuan suddenly started having a bad feeling, almost as though his intuition was warning him. Trusting his guts, Yuan decided to expand his divine sense until it covered the entire street. That's when he noticed a black van driving towards their street. Yuan didn't think too much of this black van at first, but the feeling in his guts got more uncomfortable as the black van got closer to their location. A few moments later, right as the traffic lights turned green, the black van stopped right in the middle of the crosswalk with its side facing Yuan and the others. "Watch out!" Yuan suddenly shouted. Right as Yuan's voice resounded, loud banging sounds filled the streets, and hundreds of small holes would appear on the side of the van that was facing his direction within seconds. There were multiple people in the black van, and they were all shooting at Yuan's group from inside the van with deadly assault rifles. Chaos immediately ensued, and the people in the street started scrambling to safety. White Lotus and the others subconsciously tried to dodge the incoming bullets, but they quickly realized that something was preventing them from moving. "Don't move," Yuan shouted as he held his hands in front of him, using his chi manifestation to create a wall of spiritual energy in front of them, protecting them from the bullets. Of course, he was also responsible for restricting their movements. The bullets that touched Yuan's invisible wall would get caught in his spiritual energy, making it seem like time had stopped for the bullets. However, despite this, bullets continued to fly without mercy, turning the street into a war zone. Yuan gritted his teeth in frustration. As much as he wanted to use his flying dagger to retaliate, he did not dare to split his focus, putting all of his attention on defense and the wall before them, which was the only thing preventing the bullets from riddling their bodies with holes. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 962. Published at 8th of May, 2022, 4:57 and 24 seconds p.m. Chapter 962. 962. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 962. Assassination attempt. The sound of powerful guns blazing through bullets continued non-stop for another minute, until the people in the black van eventually ran out of bullets. "We're out. Let's get the fuck out of here." The people in the black van didn't even bother to check whether their targets had survived before stepping on the gas and speeding away from the crime scene. However, Yuan didn't dare to remove the wall until he was absolutely sure that the threat had completely vanished. "Are you guys okay?" Yuan turned around to ask the three terrified ladies standing behind him with shivering legs. "I'm okay," White Lotus muttered in a trembling voice. "I am fine as well," Chulio Xiang said. "Me too," Meishio said. "Meishio, you're totally not fine. Look at your arm. It's bleeding." Chu Liuxiang suddenly said in a panicked voice and pointed to her left arm, where blood could be seen flowing from a wound. "Oh, you're right." Meishio looked at her arm and said in a calm voice. After inspecting the wound, she continued, "I'm fine, it's just a graze." "How can you be so calm about this? You just got shot." Chu Liuxiang was dumbfounded by her reaction. Anyways, what in God's name was that just now? It was most likely the Zheng family trying to exact revenge. I don't have any proof, but they're the only ones who have a motive. White Lotus sighed. Even if they want revenge, to think they'd go this far. This is unforgivable. She looked at the destruction caused by the shooting just now. Fortunately, there were no deaths. However, some people there were injured in the process of trying to run away, and the buildings behind their group were riddled with bullets. Everyone there turned to look at Yuan, who was awfully silent for some reason, but that only made the ladies even more nervous. Mei Xiao and Chu Liuxiang suddenly recalled what happened with the Gu family when they threatened to hurt them. However, this incident was many times worse than the Gu family, and Mei Xiao even got physically hurt in the process, so they cannot even begin to imagine what was going through Yuan's head. Are you okay, Yuan? White Lotus decided to ask him. To their surprise, he nodded and spoke in an abnormally calm voice. Yes, I am just relieved that you're safe. Let's return to the hotel and get your wound treated, Mei Xiao. Okay. As they made their way back to the hotel, police sirens could be heard blaring in almost every street. Yes, that really just happened. White Lotus spoke to her father through the phone as they walked, notifying him of the horror they'd just experienced. That fucking Zheng family. How dare they try to assassinate you guys? They have crossed the line 1,000 times. Don't worry, I will make sure they are held accountable for their actions. I'm just really glad that none of you are hurt. By the way, has Yuan said anything about the situation? Bai Mingyao suddenly asked. And no. He's awfully quiet, nor has he spoken a word since we left. White Lotus answered in a whispering voice. That doesn't sound very good. Do whatever you can to comfort him. I understand. After hanging up the phone, Bai Mingyao called the Zheng family and demanded for Zheng Yi to pick up the phone. I'm sorry, Mr. Bai, but Mr. Zheng is currently busy. I don't give a fuck if he's busy. I want him to answer the phone even if he's screwing his wife as we speak. If I don't hear from him within the next 5 minutes, I will literally shoot up your fucking headquarters. Please calm down, Mr. Bai. D. Panda novel by Mingyao hung up and waited for his phone to ring. As expected, Zheng Yi video called him 3 minutes later. For you to threaten my family with harm, you better have a good reason, Bai Mingyao, or you will be hearing from my lawyers. You dare to act like you don't know anything. Your Zheng family just tried to assassinate my daughter. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. What? Zheng Yi frowned upon hearing this, showing legit confusion. Hold your horses, Bai Mingyao. That is a serious accusation. I don't know what happened, but our Zheng family was not involved. You don't know what happened? Bullshit. Turn on the TV and look at the news. Zheng Yi turned on his TV the next moment. It didn't take long for him to learn of the shooting, as it was being covered by literally every news channel out there. About half an hour ago, a mass shooting had occurred at. Over 1,000 bullets had been fired. Miraculously, nobody was killed. You're claiming that my Zheng family had something to do with this shooting? That's absurd. We would never do something like this. As if I could believe your words. Only your Zheng family has a motive. This is defamation. Slander. Do you have any proof that it was my Zheng family that is behind the shooting? The only proof I need is your Zheng family's dog's hit reputation. In the entire legacy ranking, your family is the worst. Ha. You'll need more than that bullshit to do anything to us. Go ahead and sue us. I dare you. Bai Mingyao suddenly started laughing. What's so damn funny? You think this is funny? You damn fool. Bai Mingyao roared. I purposefully kept this a secret because I wanted your family to mess with him a little. But I truly did not expect for you to do something this daring. You guys truly went above and beyond. However, I am also at fault. Due to my selfish decision, my daughter was nearly assassinated. What the hell are you talking about? Zheng Yi frowned, as he had a bad feeling about Bai Mingyio's words. Listen carefully, Zheng Yi. The young man who trashed your useless son. The person your family just tried to assassinate today is none other than player Yuan. The same Yuan your family is so desperately trying to recruit. Bai Mingyao revealed the truth to him. What? Zheng Yi cried out loud, not daring to believe his ears. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., Please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 963. Published at 9th of May, 2022, 2:09 and 9 seconds p.m. Chapter 963. 963. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 963. The real culprit. That young man who beat my son was player Yuan. Impossible. I won't fall for this. Zheng Yi was in denial. However, inside his mind he started recalling a certain rumor that White Lotus had managed to contact player Yuan in. I don't care if you believe it or not. However, it is a fact that your family had just tried to assassinate player Yuan. If the other families learn of this, nobody will dare to stay by your side. Bai Mingyao shouted. Stop. I swear on my ancestors' graves that our Zheng family had nothing to do with the assassination. Do you really think that I would do something as blatant and reckless as shooting up a street in broad daylight? Bai Mingyao frowned, and he started wondering if the Zheng family had truly called in the assassination on Yuan. Anyways, do not bother me or my family again until you have concrete proof that it was my family who ordered the hit. And if you dare spread such rumors, I will sue you for slander. Zheng Yi closed the video call shortly after and started pacing back and forth his room with a panicked expression on his face. He was telling the truth when he claimed that he had nothing to do with the assassination attempt, but he had a feeling that he knew the true culprit behind this madness. He eventually picked up his phone and called his son Zheng Weimin. Hello. Zheng Weimin picked up the phone after a few rings. You crazy bastard. What have you done? Tell me you are not behind the shooting this afternoon. Zheng Yi's voice was so loud that it dazed Zheng Weimin. However, to his surprise, Zheng Weimin spoke in a calm voice. Huh? They already got to work? What a pleasant surprise. I really thought it would take at least a few days. Why you? Are you serious? Zheng Yi could feel his legs giving out on him after hearing his son's words. Yes, I am. I was the one who ordered the hit on that bastard, so what? This will teach White Lotus what will happen if she dares to approach any man that is not me. Zheng Weimin laughed out loud. This bastard's gone insane. Did he hit his head during his fight with Yuan? Zheng Yi cried inwardly. He always knew that his son was a crazy bastard, but even he couldn't have anticipated that his son would be crazy enough to hire assassins. I have underestimated him. This is bad. Really bad. Don't worry, father. Zheng Yi suddenly said. I made sure there were no traces or evidence of my involvement, so they won't be able to hold us accountable. Zheng Yi sighed out loud and said, Have you seen the news? No, I haven't. Why? Zheng Yi asked in a puzzled voice. There were no deaths. In other words, your assassination attempt has failed. What? How is that possible? I told them to use the strongest firearms they have available. Not even a spirit master cultivator could survive such firepower. Well, not only did they survive, but White Lotus was also there at the time of the attack, so you almost had your beloved assassinated alongside the man you're trying to kill. What? I gave those bastards specific instructions to not attack when White Lotus is near the target. Those useless bastards. I paid them a hefty fee too. Zheng Weimin cursed out loud. Since White Lotus was in a disguise, the attackers did not recognize her, but Zheng Weimin wasn't aware of this fact. Zheng Yi sighed, and he proceeded to ask, Do you even know the identity of the man who you just tried to have assassinated today? His identity doesn't matter. Since he dared to offend me, he's a dead man. Player Yuan. That man was Player Yuan. Do you have any idea what this means? Zheng Yi suddenly yelled. What? Zheng Weimin muttered in a dazed voice, seemingly having difficulties comprehending what had just heard. I really hope you didn't leave any evidence behind. If I learn that you've screwed up, I will, without hesitation, kick you out of the family and disown you. Visit Readle. Me for extra chapters. Be but father. So what if he's Player Yuan? He's just a nobody who got lucky in cultivation online. Do you have any idea how many families within the legacy rankings are looking to curry favors with this nobody? If they learn that you tried to assassinate Yuan, they will definitely side with him to destroy us. I'm done talking with you. However, let me give you one more piece of advice as your father. Hide. Don't show your face until all of this calms down. Zheng Yi disconnected the line and tossed his phone at the wall, smashing it into pieces. Fuck. That fucking crazy bastard. Meanwhile, Zheng Weimin sat on his bed with a dazed look on his face. So he was player Yuan all along. It all makes sense now. No wonder why she dared to fight back. However, none of that matters. They cannot touch me without proof. As for those assassins, even if they have failed their first attempt, they will continue to try until they fulfill our contract. Zheng Weimin quickly stopped caring about the situation, as he was confident that he would not get in any trouble for his actions. After all, there were rules and regulations in this world, and being in the top 5 of the legacy rankings, these regulations were in his favor regardless if he was in the right or wrong. I don't care if you're player Yuan. Come get me if you can. Ahaha. Zheng Weimin laughed like a madman inside his room. Back at the hotel, White Lotus had the entire hotel secured by her guards, so that not even a rat could enter or leave the premises. They were basically in lockdown. Meanwhile, Meishio had her wound inspected and treated by a professional. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 964. Published at 9th of May, 2022, 2:09 and 7 seconds p.m. Chapter 964. 964. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 964. Take me to the Zheng family. Luckily, the bullet only grazed your skin. I also checked your blood just in case they laced the bullets with poison. The results were negative. You'll heal in a few days. The doctor said to Meishio after inspecting her grazed wound. Will this injury leave a scar? Meishio asked the doctor. Since you're a cultivator, it will only last for a bit. It will eventually disappear completely, but I will prescribe you with some healing cream just in case. I see. Thank you. Meishio nodded. Once the doctor left and they were alone, Chu Liuxiang spoke. What should we do now? Yu Rao's birthday is tomorrow, and the concert will be held in public. If we don't deal with the situation before then, they could attack during the concert. Is there anything we can do to the Zheng family? She looked at White Lotus, who shook her head. Unfortunately, we don't have any concrete proof that the Zheng family was the one behind the attack. My father spoke to the head of the Zheng family, and according to what he told me, Zheng Yi doesn't appear to have anything to do with the attack. I also highly doubt they would leave behind any evidence that incriminates them. So there's nothing we can do about it? Meishio asked with a worried frown on her face. Not legally, no. White Lotus sighed. We can try to look for the people in the black van, but we're still investigating that. The entire Bai family is currently working with the police and investigators, but even with such a force, it will probably be a few days until we can learn anything. We don't have the luxury to wait that long. Yuan suddenly spoke. Do you have something in mind? White Lotus asked him. He nodded and said, Meishio Lulu, I want the two of you to stay in this room together until I resolve our situation. It won't take too long, I promise. What are you going to do? Meishio asked him in a worried voice. I'm going to get the evidence we need to deal with whoever decided it was a good idea to put you all in such a dangerous situation, he calmly said. Yuan approached Meishio and caressed the bandage on her arm, where she'd been injured from the attack. The person who caused this will wish that they'd never been born. Even though his voices were as tranquil as still water in a lake, the ladies could feel the anger boiling within, and it was only a matter of time before it exploded, causing the water to splash everywhere. Meishio suddenly grabbed his hands and spoke. Yuan, I know you're angry and that you're doing this for us, but please, don't do anything that will hurt you. I won't. I promise. Yuan showed her a gentle smile. He then faced White Lotus and said, Can you do me a favor? Oh, of course. She immediately nodded. Let's go. Yuan started making his way towards the exit. Don't do anything that you will regret later, Yuan. I know that you care about our safety, but don't forget that we also care about yours. Chu Liuxiang shouted as he reached the door. I know. He responded as he left the room. I want guards inside and outside of this room at all times until we return. Make sure no harm comes to our guests. White Lotus said to Jasmine. What about you, Miss Bai? I will be fine. White Lotus said as she glanced at Yuan. I understand. I will make sure the guests are protected even if it's the last thing I do. Jasmine nodded. Please take care of Miss Bai. She turned to face Yuan and bowed to him. Sometime later, White Lotus followed Yuan to the roof of the hotel. Yuan continued walking until he was standing at the edge of the building. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. After standing there in silence for a couple of minutes, he suddenly asked, Where is the Zheng family? The Zheng family's headquarters is located in another city, but they have a branch family that is about an hour outside the city. Although you won't find the head of the family, Zheng Yi there, you should be able to find Zheng Weimin. That is good enough. He then asked, Do you mind showing me the way? I promise you that no harm will come to you. I will also owe you. I don't mind. And you don't have to owe me anything. You saved my life today. I should be the one with the debt, she said. The only reason you guys were put in such a dangerous situation was because of me. I was their target. You guys just happened to be with me at the time of the attack. If you don't mind me asking, what are you going to do once we meet the Zheng family? I doubt they will tell us the truth even if we threaten them. After a moment of silence, Yuan spoke in a low but clear voice. I don't know what I am going to do to them, but I know that it won't be very pretty. White Lotus swallowed nervously. Do you plan on killing them all? Don't worry, the Bai family will protect you no matter your decision. Yuan turned to look at her with a profound smile on his face, but he did not respond to her question. After a moment of silence, he spoke in a cold voice as he took off his sunglasses, revealing the red eyes that had been concealed by the shades. That would be too lenient on the bastards that attacked us. I won't kill them, but I will make them wish that they were dead. White Lotus' eyes widened with shock, and her body trembled in fear when she saw Yuan's crimson eyes that looked like it had been dyed in blood, not to mention intense killing intent that was contained within his gaze. However, mixed in with her fear was awe, as she was also oddly charmed by his presence. Although she wasn't certain, she had a feeling that Yuan was looking at her through his eyes as of this moment. Yuan lifted his arm and gestured for her. Take me to the Zheng family. It's our turn to surprise them. Yes. White Lotus responded in a low voice before grabbing his hand and flying into the air with him, her heart throbbing with excitement. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 965. Published at 10th of May, 2022, 5:09 and 9 seconds AM. Chapter 965. 965. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 965. Regaining his vision as they made their way towards the Zheng family, White Lotus couldn't help but stare at Yuan's handsome face and beautiful crimson eyes that resembled jewels. Yuan, your eyes. What happened? She couldn't resist her urge to ask him. I'm not really sure. After seeing Meishio getting hurt from the assault, I felt something being released within me. And before I knew it, I regained my vision. Huh. So you're no longer blind? White Lotus muttered in a dumbfounded voice. For now. Who knows how long this would last? Maybe you'll return to being blind after a few hours. Yuan turned to look at White Lotus' beautiful face and pale complexion. Even though I can see the world clearer and in more details with divine sense, there is just something unique about viewing the world with my eyes. He said with a smile. It's unfortunate that I had regained my vision during this time when I am unable to enjoy it. His smile quickly turned bitter. White Lotus suddenly lowered her head and tightened her hold around his neck. My life flashed before my eyes earlier today. I have never had such a close near-death experience before, not even in. Honestly, I've been in worse situations. However, I have never felt scared in those situations. It was different today. I was terrified, but not for myself. I was scared that I would lose one of you, And it was a close call. The bullet that grazed Meishio could have killed any of us. Fortunately, that did not happen. You really care about Meishio and Chuliuxiang. I'm envious. White Lotus suddenly sighed. I care about you too, you know? He said, taking her by surprise. Really? Even though we've just met each other? Of course. He nodded. Thank you. White Lotus mumbled as she lowered her head even more to prevent Yuan from seeing the expression on her face. About half an hour later, White Lotus pointed at the large mansion located at the horizon and said, Over there. That's our destination. Yuan nodded and flew directly towards the mansion. Once they landed near the mansion, Yuan stepped in front of White Lotus and said, Stay behind me no matter what. Okay. She nodded. Yuan summoned both Empyrean Overlord and Starry Abyss before approaching the mansion. There were guards pacing around the mansion, and all of them were carrying fully loaded assault rifles. Are they usually this tight with security? Not even banks are this heavily guarded. Yuan asked her. No, this isn't normal. White Lotus shook her head. Then they must be really afraid of something. Yuan smiled. Follow me. He walked out of the shadows with White Lotus behind him. Halt! The guards there immediately noticed him and pointed their guns at his direction without any hesitation. Identify yourself. What are you doing here? Let me handle this. White Lotus said. Bai Lianhua. We're here to speak with Zheng Weimin. The guards recognized her name and face. Zheng Weimin is not here. One of the guards said. You're lying. Yuan said, as he could sense Zheng Weimin's presence within the mansion. I will give you two choices. Get Zheng Weimin out here for me, or I will go inside to meet him myself. And I will give you one choice. Get lost before we fill your body with bullet holes. Yuan closed his eyes and took a deep breath. The next moment, one of the guards suddenly screamed in pain, startling the others. When they turned to look at him, they saw that his hands had suddenly been severed by something sharp. What happened? However, before they could even make sense of what was happening, the invisible starry abyss honed in on its next target. Whoosh! Visit Readel. Me for extra chapters. My hands. Another guard had his hands severed. Then another. And another. In less than a minute, Yuan had disarmed all of the guards there by severing their hands with the starry abyss. White Lotus swallowed nervously after seeing the brutal scenery. The guards were all screaming in pain as blood gushed from their grievous wounds. Let's go. Yuan said with a nonchalant face as he started walking towards the entrance. After smashing the doors with a single kick, Yuan entered the building with White Lotus. However, the moment they took a step inside the building, the guards that had been waiting inside ambushed them, shooting their guns without hesitation. Hundreds of bullets flew at Yuan every second, resembling the situation earlier this afternoon but with more noise and chaos, as there were more people shooting their guns at him. However, there was one more difference. Yuan was prepared for the attack this time. While he used Qi manifestation to create a wall around him and White Lotus, he also controlled the starry abyss to take down the shooters one at a time. Since the shooters were spread out and most of them were focused on shooting Yuan, they failed to notice what was happening until it was too late, and everyone there had their hands and arms severed. He's not killing them. Is he saving it for Zheng Weimin? White Lotus noticed this and wondered to herself. Are you okay? Yuan turned around and asked her in a calm voice. Why, yes. She nodded in a dazed manner. Good, then let's continue. Yuan proceeded to follow Zheng Weimin's presence in the mansion. They would encounter guards at every turn, but Yuan easily took care of them. Meanwhile, inside Zheng Weimin's room. What the fuck is going on out there? Zheng Weimin asked the guards in his room. We have intruders. 2 of them. A man and a woman. The guard said. It's just 2 intruders. There are hundreds of you, all equipped with heavy firearms. Why the fuck am I still hearing gunshots after so long? Are they all shooting at the sky or something? Zheng Weimin cried out loud. I don't know. Even I am puzzled. The guard shook his head. Fuck. You're all so fucking useless. Zheng Weimin gritted his teeth in frustration. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., Please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 966. Published at 10th of May, 2022, 5:09 and 8 seconds AM. Chapter 966. 966. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 966. Punishing Zheng Weimin. Don't worry, young master. We will protect you with our lives. The guards in the room said to him. No fucking shit. If I die, my father will kill all of you. Zheng Weimin shouted. One of the guards' walkie-talkie suddenly activated. Help. This guy is a monster. We cannot deal with him. A terrified voice resounded from the walkie-talkie. Give me that. Zheng Weimin gestured for the walkie-talkie. Once it was in his hands, he shouted. This is Zheng Weimin. What is happening out there? However, the guard did not respond. Hello. Answer me. After another moment of silence, the walkie-talkie connected again. He can't hear you because he's unconscious. Probably due to blood loss, but I'm no expert. He might even be dead. A familiar voice resounded from the walkie-talkie. However, Zheng Weimin did not immediately recognize the voice. Who are you? You've already forgotten about me? It hasn't been that long since you tried to kill me. Yuan said in a calm voice. Why, you're that bastard from the roof. I have no idea what you're talking about. I never tried to kill you. What evidence do you have? Zheng Weimin finally realized who he was speaking to, and his body became soaked in cold sweat. Evidence? I don't have any. Then why the fuck are you creating a scene at my house? I'll have you arrested for your actions. I may not have any evidence now, but I will get some soon. I'll see you in a bit. Yuan crushed the walkie-talkie and continued making his way to Zheng Weimin's room. This fucking bastard. Zheng Weimin tossed the walkie-talkie at the wall in a fit of rage. Shortly after their conversation ended, Zheng Weimin could hear the gunshots getting closer and closer to his room, pushing him towards the edge of having a mental breakdown. Meanwhile, there were 12 guards inside his room, all of them pointing their guns at the door with their fingers on the trigger. 10 minutes later, Yuan and White Lotus arrived at the hallway that contained Zheng Weimin's room. There are 13 people inside that room, one of them being Zheng Weimin. Stand back. Yuan said to her. White Lotus nodded and took a few steps back. Yuan held the Empyrean Overlord like a javelin and took a deep breath. Whoosh. He tossed the Empyrean Overlord, sending it flying through the hallway. Bang. The Empyrean Overlord smashed through the metal doors at the end of the hallway, revealing the terrified faces inside the room. Open fire. The leader of the guard shouted. Hundreds of bullets traveled the hallway until they reached Yuan, but they all stopped moving in front of him. What the fuck? The guards were shocked by what they were witnessing. Move out of the way. One of the guards there suddenly stepped forward and aimed a rocket launcher at Yuan. Yuan, watch out. White Lotus was terrified when she saw the RPG-7. Too late. The guard pressed the trigger, shooting the rocket at Yuan. However, before it could even get anywhere near Yuan, the rocket exploded, blowing up half of the hallway and even some of the guards. What just happened? The guards that survived the explosion were dumbfounded. Unbeknownst to them, Yuan had destroyed the rocket with the starry abyss. Ah, my arms. One of the guards there suddenly screamed in pain, as both his limbs suddenly separated from his body. The other guards were terrified when they saw this, especially when none of them saw what had caused it. Soon every guard in the room had their hands and even entire arms severed by the invisible starry abyss. Zheng Weimin stared at the nightmarish scene before him with a horrified look on his face. Why, you're not human. You're a fucking demon. Get away from me. Zheng Weimin started crying when Yuan entered the room with White Lotus behind him. White Lotus looked at Zheng Weimin's terrible appearance in silence. This is the result of offending player Yuan. It's much worse than what I'd imagined. She sighed inwardly. What's wrong? You look like shit. Yuan approached Zheng Weimin, who had backed all the way up to the corner of a wall. Get away from me. You will regret doing this to me. What are you going to do? Report me to the police? Where's your evidence? I have plenty of evidence and witnesses. Zheng Weimin shouted. If I kill all of you and destroy this place, there won't be any more evidence. Yuan showed him a cold smile. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Why you wouldn't dare? I am innocent. I never tried to kill. Zheng Weimin suddenly screamed out loud, his voice filled with pain. Tell me again that you're innocent. Yuan spoke in a nonchalant voice as he removed his hand from Zheng Weimin's shoulder after crushing his bones. Zheng Weimin gritted his teeth and spoke in a low voice. I really don't know what you're talking. Yuan crushed the rest of his arm with qi manifestation. The pain of having every bone in his right arm being crushed was so intense that Zheng Weimin fell unconscious. However, Yuan would wake him back up by breaking one of his legs by stomping on it. I can do this all day. Yuan said to him in a calm voice, almost as though he's done this thousands of times before. Give up, Zheng Weimin. It's over for you. White Lotus sighed. No. I am really innocent. Please. Believe me. Zheng Weimin continued to claim his innocence despite the situation. Yuan narrowed his eyes at Zheng Weimin. If physical pain isn't enough, after pondering for a moment, he turned to White Lotus and asked her, Hey, this may be sudden, but have you ever kissed before? Although she was taken by surprise by his question, White Lotus shook her head. And no. I see. Yuan approached her the following moment. What are you doing? Zheng Weimin stared at him with wide eyes. Once he was standing in front of White Lotus, Yuan suddenly wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her soft body into his embrace. White Lotus was baffled by the sudden turn of events, but she didn't resist it. Do you mind if I become your first? Yuan asked her with a profound expression on his face. You bastard! Zheng Weimin roared out loud. White Lotus realized what Yuan was trying to do now, and she couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. However, this is exactly the type of situation she and her family wanted, so she didn't complain. It would be my pleasure to have you as my first. White Lotus nodded with a bashful smile before lifting her head and closing her eyes. And no. Stop it. Don't you dare. I swear I will kill you if you do it, Yuan. Zheng Weimin shouted as blood in the form of tears began flowing from his eyes. Yuan looked at Zheng Weimin with a mocking gaze before turning to focus on White Lotus, who had a flushed face at this moment. He gently held her chin with his hand, and he slowly pressed his lips against hers, kissing her. Yuan. Zheng Weimin could feel his heart being torn into countless pieces after witnessing the love of his life being stolen by his enemy before his very eyes. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 967. Published at 12th of May, 2022, 9:27 and 10 seconds AM. Chapter 967. 967. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 967. It's just a kiss. I will kill you. I will kill you. I will kill you. Yuan. Zheng Weimin shouted like a beast that had its children murdered before its eyes. After kissing White Lotus, Yuan turned to look at Zheng Weimin's pathetic appearance and spoke. Why are you so mad? It's just a kiss. And I don't recall White Lotus ever being your woman. Shut up. White Lotus is mine. My woman. How dare you defile her with your dirty mouth? Yuan narrowed his eyes on Zheng Weimin before speaking. I'll do much more than just a kiss if you don't tell me the truth. What are you talking about? Zheng Weimin's eyes widened with shock. Yuan turned to look at White Lotus and asked her. Do you want to become my woman? I'll make you my woman right here and right now. You bastard. Don't you dare. Zheng Weimin stared at them with bloodshot eyes. If gazes could kill, Zheng Weimin would be able to kill even immortals with his intense gaze. Yuan suddenly hugged White Lotus and whispered in her ears. Don't worry, I won't actually do anything to you. White Lotus sighed inwardly. I wouldn't mind it even if you were for real. She then spoke in a genuine tone. I am willing. If you want me to be your woman, both my body and heart are yours. To Yuan's surprise, White Lotus suddenly dragged him to the bed in the room and started loosening his clothes. She then looked at Zheng Weimin and continued, "You have made my life miserable for many years with your harassment. Today, I will prove to you and the world that I am not your woman." She returned to looking at Yuan and gave him a seductive wink. Before Yuan could react, White Lotus pulled his body on top of hers and started kissing him again, this time more passionately. While they kissed, White Lotus began loosening her clothes as well. "Stop. I admit it. I was the one who ordered the hit on you. I was wrong." Zheng Weimin could no longer endure the mental torture and admitted to his crimes. However, White Lotus didn't seem to have any intention of stopping, mostly because she was too focused to hear Zheng Weimin's voice. "Why aren't you stopping? I have already confessed." "He's already confessed. Let's stop here," Yuan said to White Lotus before slipping away from her hold and getting off the bed. White Lotus was reluctant, but she had no choice but to end the fun there. After fixing their clothes, White Lotus asked, "What are you going to do to him now? Turn him to the authorities?" Yuan narrowed his eyes on Zheng Weimin, who was lying on the floor with a half-dead look on his face. "As long as he's alive, he will try to take revenge again. It may not happen tomorrow or even 10 years from now, but I am not going to take any chances." Yuan spoke in a cold voice. "Kill me if you want. I will haunt you for the rest of your life." Zheng Weimin mumbled in a low voice. "How did you contact the assassins?" He then asked, "If you're trying to call off the hit on you, then you can give up. They won't stop until their target is dead, even if it takes 100 years. Zheng Weimin chuckled. Yuan went to take Zheng Weimin's cell phone and laptop a moment later. "Let's go." He then said, "Huh, where are we going? Aren't you going to kill him?" White Lotus was baffled when Yuan started walking out of the room. However, Yuan didn't respond to her until they were both outside the mansion. "Are you really going to forgive him?" "No, I am not," he said in a calm voice as he faced the mansion and summoned the Empyrean Overlord. "Take 20 steps back," he then said. White Lotus didn't question him and distanced herself from him. Visit Riedel. Me for extra chapters. Once she was far enough, Yuan took a deep breath and gathered his spiritual energy. Heaven-splitting sword strike. Yuan released the heaven-splitting sword strike that contained about 90% of his strength. A massive beam of light consumed the mansion and everyone within. Boom. The mansion disappeared instantly, alongside over 3 miles of the wilderness behind the mansion. In no way. White Lotus fell to her knees upon witnessing the destruction caused by the heavenly splitting sword strike. With such power, he could easily wipe an entire city off the map. She cried inwardly. This will not only erase the evidence of our involvement, but it will also serve as a warning to the Zheng family. Yuan said in a calm voice. White Lotus swallowed nervously. After erasing the mansion, Yuan turned to face White Lotus and offered his hand to help her stand back up. Thank you. I'm really sorry." He suddenly sighed. "Huh. Why are you apologizing? I took advantage of you today just to get back at Zheng Weimin, and I even took away your first kiss. I'm truly sorry." Yuan lowered his head and apologized again. It's fine." White Lotus started waving her hand in a flustered manner. "As you'd said, it's just a kiss. I am not so immature and innocent to care about something like that. And to tell you the truth, I wasn't lying when I said that I wanted you to be my first. However, if you wish to take responsibility and make me your woman, I won't object to it." White Lotus spoke in a teasing voice, yet her face was flushed with redness. Let's continue this conversation another time. I'm sure this place will be flooded with police soon, and we still have to deal with the assassins Zheng Weimin hired." "All right, then let us return to the hotel and see if Zheng Weimin had left any clues behind." White Lotus nodded. Yuan carried White Lotus into the air and disappeared from the scene shortly after, returning to the hotel. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 968. Published at 12th of May, 2022, 9:27 and 9 seconds AM. Chapter 968. 968. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 968. Unknown weapon of mass destruction. After Yuan and White Lotus left the scene, helicopters and police cars flooded the place that used to be Zheng family's branch family. They were all stunned by the destruction there, and nobody there could imagine the kind of weapon that caused this mess. What in God's name happened here? Even a railgun would not be able to cause such destruction. Is this a new type of weapon? What could have transpired here that requires such immense power? Hey, isn't this the location of the Zheng family's mansion? I believe their oldest son, Zheng Weimin, lives here. Huh? Are you sure this is the right place? Yes, I am certain that the Zheng family had a mansion here. No way. Does that mean? Somebody get in touch with the Zheng family. This is an emergency. The investigators were shocked to learn that a mansion used to exist in this place. Sometime later, Zheng Yi learned of the situation. What the fuck do you mean my family's mansion have disappeared? Where is my son Zheng Weimin? Is he okay? I'm sorry, but we do not have any information on your son, but we are looking for him as we speak. Turn on the television, you should see for yourself the situation here. The head investigator said to him. Zheng Yi quickly turned on the television with a heavy heart. You have got to be fucking kidding me. Zheng Yi nearly fell out of his seat after seeing the situation. About 20 minutes ago, an unknown weapon of mass destruction had detonated in this place, erasing over 1,000 acres of land. The authorities are still trying to figure out what happened here. If you have any information, please call them at. To think 2 horrifying incidents would occur in this city in such a short time. Just what on earth is happening? Could this be the work of terrorists? As you can see, Mr. Zheng, if your son had been inside or anywhere near the mansion at the time of the incident, it is very unlikely that he would have survived. No. I told my son to leave that place when I spoke with him earlier today. He should still be out there somewhere. Zheng Yi held on to the hope that Zheng Weimin had listened to his advice to go into hiding. I want the bastard who did this to be found. Rest assured, Mr. Zheng, we will use all of our resources to find the culprit. If there is some madman with a weapon that can cause this much destruction out there, we must catch him and seize the weapon at all cost. After hanging up, Zheng Yi stared at the television with an ugly expression on his face. Sometime later, he opened his laptop and started a video call with Bai Mengyao. What do you want, Zheng Yi? Bai Mengyao asked him in an annoyed manner, unaware of the situation yet. Why, you bastard? Is this your work? Did you attack my Zheng family just now? Huh? What the fuck are you talking about? Turn on the television and see for yourself. Zheng Yi shouted. Bai Mengyao recalled a similar situation happening not long ago, but the roles were reversed this time around. Holy shit. What happened here? Bai Mengyao was terrified by what he saw on the television. Wait. You think my Bai family has something to do with the news? That's outrageous. Even more outrageous than the shooting today. It's the truth, isn't it? My Zheng family got attacked right after you threatened to attack us. There's no way this could be a coincidence. Zheng Yi roared. Are you out of your mind? You think my Bai family is capable of this? There should be a limit to your imagination. Whatever caused this is obviously not human. While Zheng Yi and Bai Mengyao argued back and forth, Yuan and White Lotus returned to the hotel. Yuan, are you okay? Chu Liuxiang rushed to his side the moment she saw him enter the room. Yes, I am fine. He nodded. What happened? Did you find any evidence? Mei Xiu asked him. Visit Riedel. Me for extra chapters. Yes, Zheng Weimin confessed to hiring the assassins this morning. However, he didn't tell us how to contact the assassins, so we're not completely safe yet, and I won't rest until I find the bastards that shot at us. Yuan said. I see. What about Zheng Weimin? I killed him. I didn't want to risk having him come after us again in the future. I'm sorry if my decision disappointed you. No, I understand why you did it, and I don't blame you. I'm sorry for making you bear everything for us. It's fine. Yuan shook his head. After a moment of silence, Chu Liuxiang suddenly spoke. By the way, your eyes. They're red. Yes. I have somehow regained my vision, so I can see again now. Yuan finally revealed the truth to them. What? No way. Really? Chu Liuxiang exploded with excitement. I'm serious. He nodded with a gentle smile on his face. To think this would happen right before Yu Rao's birthday. This is going to be an even bigger surprise than the concert. Meishu smiled. Indeed. That's why I must take care of these assassins before then. I want the birthday surprise to be perfect. White Lotus entered the room sometime later and said, Yuan, I had the experts look into Zheng Weiman's cell phone and laptop, and they found a phone number and address that might allow us to contact the assassins. Perfect. Yuan turned to look at Meishu and Chu Liuxiang and said to them, I will finish everything this time. Stay safe. They're dangerous enough to shoot us in broad daylight. Meishu said. Yuan chuckled. I doubt it'll be any more dangerous than what I have already experienced at the Zheng family. After Yuan left with White Lotus, Chu Liuxiang decided to relax a little and open the television that happened to be on a news channel. And Meishu, look at this, Chu Liuxiang called for her. My God. Wait, this happened only half an hour ago? Meishu swallowed nervously and turned to look at the door that Yuan just left from. You think he's responsible for this? Meishu smiled and said, if anyone is capable of doing this, it could only be him. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip, you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 969. Published at 12th of May, 2022, 9:27 and 8 seconds AM. Chapter 969. 969. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 969. Locating the assassins. After leaving the room with White Lotus, Yuan followed her to another room where the experts were inspecting Zheng Weiman's equipment. So this is the phone number that might help us contact the assassins. And this location appears to be a meeting point. Can you track the phone number? White Lotus asked. We can try, but we'll have to call them first. The expert said. I'll call them. Yuan suddenly said. What about your backup story? White Lotus asked. I already have one in mind. All right. Then let us set up the tracker first. The expert said. Half an hour later, the expert handed Yuan a specialized cell phone. Well, begin the tracking as soon as they pick up the phone. Try to stall them for as long as you can. Yuan nodded and called the phone number. After a couple of rings, someone picked up the number and spoke in a cold voice. Password? White Lotus and the experts were listening to the phone call as well, so they immediately frowned upon hearing about a password for the first time. However, Yuan calmly responded, fuck your password. I need a bastard killed. 100 million. White Lotus turned to look at Yuan with wide eyes. He's going to order a hit. She cried inwardly. The person on the other side of the call remained silent for several moments before responding. I'm sorry, but you have the wrong number. Hang up on me and I will call another number, and I will add you bastards to my kill list. Who told you about this phone number? Are you fuckers investigators or mercenaries? If you keep wasting my precious time, I will let the person who recommended me know of your trash service. After another moment of silence, the person spoke. Give me a name. Yuan took a deep but silent breath before speaking. Yu Yong, he's the head of a major entertainment company that focuses on music. White Lotus' jaw dropped after hearing this familiar name. After researching Yu Tian's background, she learned of his adoptive parents, Yu Yong and Tang Li. He's putting a hit on his adoptive father. A few moments of silence later, the man behind the phone spoke. He's a big name. It'll cost you more than 100 million if you want his head. Give me a number. Yuan calmly said. 500. That's a hefty amount. What if you fail? There's no such thing as a perfect hit. However, once we put a target on someone, we will make sure it is a success no matter how many times we fail. Very well. I'll pay that amount. I will now give you an account number. You have 24 hours to make the payment. After giving Yuan the account number, the man continued, once we see the payment, we will give you a call back. We'll make the real arrangements then. Yuan then spoke in a cold voice, just so you know. I may trust my friend, but I don't trust your service yet. If you dare to scam me, I will destroy your entire organization. The man laughed out loud. I welcome you to try even though we won't scam you. Yuan looked at the experts in the room for their signal. The expert nodded his head and gave Yuan a thumbs up. Then I will see you soon. After hanging up the call, Yuan went to see the results. Although we were able to track the call to their location, we were unable to pinpoint the exact location. Just give me the general location and I will find them myself. Yuan said. It's about a 4-hour drive from this place, right around here. The expert showed him the map and the general location of the call. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. I understand. I will go there right away. Yuan nodded. Should I come with you again? White Lotus asked him. No, I will be fine by myself. I don't want to endanger you. All right. Stay safe. Yuan left the hotel by himself shortly after and flew towards the location of the assassins. He decided to fly using the Empyrean Overlord since it was much faster, and he could use it for longer. An hour later, Yuan arrived at the location on the map. However, there were nothing but trees at his location. When Yuan couldn't see anything out of the ordinary with his eyes, he decided to use his divine sense. After a few minutes of searching, he noticed some footprints, which he followed to a hidden entrance that appeared to lead underground. After taking a moment to look for traps, Yuan landed in front of the entrance, and without any hesitation, he yanked the metal door open with his bare hands. Alarms began blaring inside the bunker, but Yuan ignored it and headed straight for the room with the most people. However, he was quickly stopped by people wielding heavy firearms. Why you? What are you doing here? The people that stopped him appeared to recognize his face. Hey, I'm here to repay the favor. If you lead me to the bastards who shot at me and my friends today, I will let you live. Yuan said to them in a calm voice. In your fucking dreams. Now die. They opened fire the following moment. However, as usual, Yuan stopped the bullets with his spiritual energy before they could even reach him. Is it that fun to shoot at people? It's all you guys ever do. Let me give it a try. Yuan casually flicked his arm, sending the bullets that had caught straight back to the shooters, but at an even faster speed. The 6 people there collapsed the following moment with holes all over their corpses. How boring. Yuan shook his head and continued making his way deeper inside the bunker. He would encounter more people with guns, and he would always give them a chance to tell him what he wanted to know in exchange for their lives. Unfortunately, they would all respond with bullets instead of words. In the end, Yuan had to kill every person he came across until he reached the lowest part of the bunker, where a massive metal door blocked his path. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 970. Published at 12th of May, 2022, 9:27 and 6 seconds AM. Chapter 970. 970. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 970. Locating the assassins. 2. When Yuan reached this metal door that was built to withstand even nuclear weapons, a voice resounded from the speakers in the hallway. I fully understand why we were unable to kill you today, you fucking monster. We should have asked for way more money when we accepted the request to kill you. A familiar voice resounded. Yuan recognized this voice to be the same as the person he spoke to on the phone today. You'll need more than guns to kill me, Yuan casually said. Anyways, why don't you open the door and let me in? It'll be a whole lot messier if I have to force my way inside. Ha ha ha. Go ahead and break this door if you can. This place was created to withstand even nuclear weapons. Is that so? Yuan sighed. He then asked, before I do so, I have a question. The bastards that shot at me today, Are they inside with you? I see. So you're looking for the squad responsible for the incident today. Unfortunately, you won't find them here, because they're currently on their way to the White Lotus Hotel. Furthermore, they will kill anyone in that hotel until they find you. However, since you're obviously not there, that means everyone in that hotel will be dead soon. After learning this information, Yuan started preparing for the heaven-splitting sword strike. Hey, do you remember our call earlier? Huh? What are you talking about? Yu Yong. I was the one who called you just now. So you tracked the phone call, huh? Not bad. I am impressed by the one who managed to track us despite all of the security we had. You welcomed me to try and destroy your organization. I will be fulfilling your desire now. Ha ha. And how are you going to do that? With that sword in your hand. In case you missed it, not even nuclear weapons can destroy this place, much less a sword. I have already called for reinforcements, too. They will be swarming this place soon. Whether it will work or not, we'll know soon enough. Once had gathered enough spiritual energy, Yuan released the heaven-splitting sword strike directly at the door. The ground immediately shook, and the people inside the sealed room felt as though they'd been struck by a meteorite. A few moments later, Yuan looked at the results. All of the dirt and materials built around the room had completely vanished, revealing the bunker to the open sky. However, the room itself was still there. With that being said, it had sustained heavy damage, and major cracks could be seen around this room that was basically a large metal box. What the fuck just happened? The people in the room were baffled by what they'd just experienced, and they were terrified when they saw the cracks in the walls. Wow, you actually survived. I'm genuinely impressed. The people inside the room could hear Yuan's voice through the cracks on the walls. However, it doesn't look like it will be able to survive another one. Wait. The familiar voice resounded again, but it sounded much more nervous this time. Let's talk about this. What do you want? I want the bastards currently heading to the White Lotus Hotel. Give them to me and I will spare your lives. Yuan said. I understand. I will immediately command them to return. The man retrieved his cell phone and ordered the squad to return. It's been done. They have halted their mission, and are currently on their way back here. They should arrive in about 3 hours. And you expect me to just believe you? I swear on my ancestors' grave that I am telling the truth. The man said. Yuan suddenly retrieved a cell phone and called Meishio. After explaining the situation to her, he said, I want you guys to evacuate the hotel. If anything happens there, I want to know. I understand. I will call you back once we evacuate. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. About half an hour later, Meishio called him back and said, We've evacuated to another location. White Lotus left most of her guards behind to protect the hotel, and she's even called in reinforcements. They will contact us if anything happens. Thank you. I should return in about 4 hours if everything goes smoothly. Okay. After hanging up, Yuan proceeded to stand in front of the metal box like a guard, patiently waiting for the assassins to return. The people inside the metal box wanted to escape, but none of them dared to leave the room, and there was only a single way out of there. The door that was being guarded by Yuan. Sometime later, the man's voice resounded again. It was you. You're the one responsible for what happened to the Zheng family today. You're the unknown weapon of mass destruction. However, Yuan denied such claims. I have no idea what you're talking about. The people inside the room were well aware that Yuan was lying, but they didn't dare to push their luck and continue to accuse him. About 2.5 hours later, Yuan could see 5 people approaching the destroyed bunker with his divine sense. What the fuck happened here? My god. It's like someone had dropped a nuke on this place. Shit. This is a trap. This group of people tried to run away when they realized their situation, but they didn't get very far before Yuan descended from the sky, blocking their path. Why don't you all stay still for a moment? If you try to run, I will immediately kill you. Yuan summoned the starry abyss and removed its invisibility, letting it fly around the group to threaten them. Meanwhile, Yuan faced the bunker and released another heaven-splitting sword strike, completely erasing everything this time. Sorry, but I lied when I said that I would let you all live. Yuan mumbled towards the direction of the bunker, at least where it used to exist. After cleaning up what's left of the bunker and everyone in it, Yuan turned to look at the group of 5 assassins with a cold gaze, who were terrified out of their minds after what they'd just witnessed. It's so nice to see you all again. I have been anticipating this reunion for a while now. Yuan said to them with a gentle smile on his face that looked incredibly devilish to the group. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 971. Published at 13th of May, 2022, 5:18 and 15 seconds p.m. Chapter 971. 971. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 971. I will see you in hell. What are you going to do to us, you monster? One of the assassins there used all of his courage to shout out loud. Nothing much. I am just going to punish you all a little for your actions, Yuan calmly said. He suddenly flicked his sleeves, immediately severing the arms of one of the assassins there. My arms! The assassin screamed in a terrified voice as blood sprayed from his wounds. It's just your arms, what's the big deal? I'll give you something else to scream about. Whoosh! The Empyrean overlord moved in a speed that none of the assassins there could see with their bare eyes, and before they realized, Yuan severed that assassin's legs. The assassin fell to the ground and screamed in horror as he laid around his own severed limbs. The other 4 assassins gasped in shock. The scene before their eyes looked like it came straight out of a horror movie. One of them couldn't endure it any longer and started running around. Where do you think you're going? Yuan's voice resounded as the starry abyss caught up with the runner almost immediately. A painful scream echoed as the starry abyss severed the runner's legs. However, the assassin did not give up and started crawling with his arms. Unfortunately, he did not go very far as his arms were severed as well. When the other remaining 3 assassins saw the result of running away, they all gave up the thought and resigned their lives to fate. If you're going to kill us, hurry up and do it. Is there a need to humiliate, torture us? One of them suddenly said. Need? Of course not. However, I want to, just like how you all decided to kill me. But that was our job. Someone had put a hit on you. If you're going to blame someone, blame that person. Don't worry, I have already dealt with Zheng Weimin. He's currently waiting for the rest of you in hell. And you can only blame yourself for choosing such a job. Die. One of them suddenly pulled out a pistol and aimed it at Yuan's head before shooting it. A 9mm bullet flew toward his face the next moment, but it stopped an inch from his head. The assassin was in disbelief, but he continued to pull the trigger until he emptied the magazine. A little over a dozen bullets hovered in front of Yuan's face, but he didn't seem to be concerned, almost as though he had expected it. If you're going to come at me, you would have a better chance with a knife than a gun. Yuan glanced at the assassin who shot at him before returning the bullets to its rightful owner. The bullets struck all of the assassin's vital parts, paralyzing his body almost instantly. Don't worry, you'll bleed to death just like the other 2. Yuan turned to look at the 2 remaining assassins. One of them was a bulky middle-aged man, and the other was a middle-aged woman. Please, spare my life. I will do anything you want. To tell you the truth, I am still a virgin. I will let you be my F. The woman started pleading for her life by offering her body, but Yuan swung the Empyrean overlord before she could finish, sending her head flying into the air. How vile! Yuan muttered in a low voice afterward. Blood sprayed everywhere, but Yuan covered his body with his spiritual energy. It's just you now, huh? Any last words? Yuan asked the remaining assassin. Go fuck yourself. It's a pity that we couldn't kill you or those sluts with you today. The middle-aged man spat at Yuan. Is that so? Suddenly, the sound of police sirens could be heard approaching their location. Looks like it's over for you too. The assassin laughed out loud. Yuan suddenly smiled and said, Why don't you see for yourself if that will be the case? Visit Readle.me for extra chapters. Before the middle-aged man could even react, Yuan plunged the Empyrean overlord into his body, skewering it. The man's eyes widened with shock, but he was not dead yet. The following moment, he watched as Yuan flew into the sky with him. Once they were above the clouds, Yuan said to him, "If you survive this fall, I'll let you live." "You demon!" The man managed to smile despite his hopeless situation. Yuan retrieved the Empyrean overlord back inside his body, letting the man fall. "I will see you in hell, you monster." The man laughed madly as he fell to his death, which was witnessed by the police and investigators that had just arrived at the bloody scene. Yuan made his way back to the hotel under the night sky as the police investigated the chaos had left behind. What on earth is happening in this city? The unknown weapon has been used again, and there are even 5 brutally mutilated corpses. Are we really dealing with a human here? The investigators were baffled by what they found at the crime scene. Actually, it appears that the unknown weapon had been used 2 times in this place. What? How can such a powerful weapon be used so frequently? This situation is more dire than we initially thought. Just what is the motive of the person or entity behind this? What about these people? They appeared to have been cut by something exceedingly sharp. Have you identified them yet? No, none of them had any form of identification. Furthermore, we found weapons hidden on their bodies. They're probably mercenaries, the kind that would do any kind of work as long as they are paid enough. Sometime later, one of the investigators there found the black van used in the shooting nearby. With this new evidence, there's a good chance that these guys were the ones behind the shooting this afternoon. We just need to wait for confirmation from the guys at analysis. The person responsible for killing them. The wounds are too brutal, which suggests vengeance. Vengeance, huh? It would be for the best if that were the case. The investigators their side. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 972. Published at 13th of May, 2022, 5:18 and 14 seconds p.m. Chapter 972. 972. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 972. A big mistake. After returning to the hotel, Yuan went to look for the others, who had been waiting anxiously for his return. "Yuan, you're back," Chu Liuxiang said. "Are you hurt anywhere?" Mei Xiu asked him. "No, I am perfectly fine." He shook his head. "Welcome back," White Lotus said to him. "By the way, your deeds are already on the news." She pointed at the television that was already talking about the chaos had caused outside the city. The unknown weapon of mass destruction has been used again. Furthermore, the authorities have found the culprits behind the shooting this afternoon at. Many people have already left the city because of this commotion, and there will be even more leaving tomorrow when they wake up to see the news. I've even received many calls from those at the faction today. All of them are asking to relocate the faction temporarily. They're all scared of that technique of yours, scared that you might release this weapon of mass destruction in the city. Sorry, I wanted to resolve this without using the technique, but that wasn't possible. I even had to use it twice. Yuan sighed. Let's just hope that there will be an audience for the concert tomorrow. However, with all of the chaos today, I'm afraid that will be quite hard. It's fine. The only audience I need is my sister Yuro. Yuan smiled. So what's going to happen now? Chu Liuxiang asked a moment later. Are we just going to pretend like nothing happened? There's a lot of people looking for you, right? It'll be fine. They will eventually give up when they cannot find anything. If they find me, we will deal with it at that time. Yuan said. Don't worry, the Bai family will help you keep your secret. Even if your secret is revealed, we have our methods to protect you. White Lotus said. Thank you. Sometime later, Yuan said to them, let's go to sleep. I need some rest after what happened today. Good night. After returning to his room, Yuan closed the lights and laid on the bed, but he did not go to sleep immediately. I have killed a lot of people today. Even though it's not my first time killing someone since is also a real world. It feels unnatural to stain my hands with blood in this world. Yuro. What will she think when she learns that her brother has turned into a killer? Yuan slowly fell asleep as he thought about the day that felt longer than usual. While he slept, dreams that felt incredibly surreal started appearing. Inside his dream, he was surrounded by a sea of flames and rivers of blood. The sky was dark and red, and the whole world appeared to be dyed in black and red. This is the evil god's memories? Yuan looked around the gruesome scenery with a slight frown on his face. All of the buildings were on fire, and there were corpses littered on every street. Did the evil god, I really do all of this? Yuan mumbled in a low voice. You monster! You're responsible for this. A desperate cry suddenly resounded behind him. He turned around to see a middle-aged man holding onto a child, but the child was missing half of his body. Tears made out of blood flowed from this man's eyes as he roared. If only you didn't exist, none of this would have happened. You killed all of them. I hope you die. However, Yuan couldn't feel any emotions when looking at this middle-aged man who was filled with despair and anger. His heart was as still and as cold as a block of ice. Suddenly, Yuan turned to look at the sky, where hundreds of people wearing silver armor could be seen approaching him with killing intent. When Yuan saw these soldiers, his empty heart started burning with unimaginable rage and bloodlust, and without waiting any longer, he leaped into the air, flying towards these soldiers. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Surrender yourself already, evil god. You won't win this war. One of the soldiers shouted. Ha ha ha. Whether I win this war or not is not something for you to decide. Yuan laughed like a madman as he used some kind of technique to kill many of the soldiers in one go. Are you seriously going to defy the Celestial Emperor? The heavens! You're making a big mistake. A mistake? If we're going to talk about mistakes, then let's start with the biggest one in the room, offending me. Ha ha ha. In just mere moments, the evil god killed all of the soldiers there. After killing the soldiers, the evil god lifted his head and released a powerful roar that shook the world. The roar was so powerful that it startled Yuan awake from his sleep. Damn. The evil god is even more dangerous than I initially thought. Just what caused him to go on such a rampage? Did the Celestial Emperor kill his love or something? Yuan mumbled in a low voice. I am still nowhere close to absorbing all of the Divine Paragon's memories, yet the evil god's memories are already leaking. I might really go insane if I have to handle the memories of two immortals at once. After waking up, Yuan found it hard to go back to sleep, and his body was soaked in sweat. He decided to take a shower a few moments later to clean his body and clear his mind. After the shower, Yuan went to look at himself in the mirror, and to his surprise, his red eyes had disappeared. However, he was still able to see using his eyes. Just what on earth is going on with my body? There are too many questions and not enough answers. Yuan decided to spend the rest of the night cultivating since he couldn't go back to sleep. Meanwhile, inside her room, Meishio was deciding whether to answer her cell phone that has been ringing for a while now. After pondering for a few minutes, Meishio sighed and picked up the cell phone before dialing Yuro. Hello. Sorry, I was preparing breakfast just now, so I couldn't pick up the phone. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 973. Published at 14th of May, 2022, 9:27 and 14 seconds AM. Chapter 973. 973. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 973. Hospitalized. Hey Meishio. Sorry for bothering you, but can I speak with my brother? I wanted to wait until tomorrow before I called, but I just cannot wait any longer. Yuro said. You sound like you're in a hurry. Did something happen? Meishio asked. Did you not see the news? Something horrible is happening in my city. I could be dead tomorrow at this rate. Of course, Yuro was talking about the unknown weapon of mass destruction that has terrorized her city. Ah, I know what you're talking about. However, I wouldn't worry too much if I were you. Meishio said. Huh? Why would you say that? If this person really wanted to harm the city, they would have destroyed the city already. I just can't help but worry when everyone around me is panicking. Yuro sighed. Anyways, you wanted to speak with Yuan, right? I'm sorry, but that's not possible right now. Meishio said a moment later. Huh? Why not? Well, to tell you the truth, he told me to not tell you since he doesn't want to worry you. But since it's your birthday tomorrow, and the truth will eventually be known. Yuan is currently hospitalized. He's what? Yuro screamed after hearing this unexpected news. What happened to him? Is he okay? He got injured during training. It's only a few broken bones, so there's no need to worry. That sounds horrible. A few broken bones. That's very serious. What if he cripples himself again? He's just got his body back. Yuro exclaimed. The doctors said that he'll make a full recovery in a few days. Although Meishio felt bad about lying to Yuro like this, she couldn't let Yuan's hard work go to waste. Yuro suddenly sighed through the phone. I was really looking forward to speaking with brother on my birthday. Don't worry, I will make sure that you'll still get to speak with him tomorrow. Meishio said. Thank you, Meishio, but don't force him if he isn't in the condition. Anyways, I am going to sleep now. I have something important that I must attend tomorrow morning. Good night. Meishio said to her before hanging up. Is everything okay? Xiaojingyi asked Yuro after she put down her phone. That stupid brother of mine got himself hospitalized right before my birthday. Can you believe it? Yuro complained. Xiaojingyi covered her mouth and gasped. Oh my. I hope he's okay. He broke some bones, but he'll make a full recovery. Brother is such an idiot. He should treat his body with more care and respect, especially considering how he's already been crippled once before. I'm going to give him a piece of my mind when I go on vacation next month. Anyways, let's go to sleep. We have an important meeting tomorrow according to the seniors. All right. Good night, Yuro. Night. The following morning, after their morning routine, Yuro and Xiaojingyi gathered outside the faction. Good morning, Eldarine. Yuro and Xiaojingyi greeted the old woman that was there before them. Are you two ready to leave? Eldarine asked them. Yes, we are. Good. Once they were in the car, Yuro asked, Eldarine, where are you taking us today? To tell you the truth, I also have no idea. White Lotus said she was in trouble and needed some extra hands, so we picked a couple of disciples to help her. Eldarine shrugged. Yuro raised her eyebrows. She looked around the car and asked, where are the others? They went ahead since the seats were filled. I see. Yuro sighed inwardly. Why do I have to do such chores on my birthday? It's even my day off. Can this day get any worse? Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Meanwhile, Yuan and the others prepared for the surprise. The concert was to be performed in the city square, one of the busiest places in the city. Which idiot decided to do a concert at such a time? Aren't they aware of the danger in this city? Most of the streets were empty because everyone decided to stay at home for the next few days, due to the recent commotion. However, the roads were packed with cars because people were trying to leave the city. With that being said, there was a crowd of people in front of the stage, and most of these people were sent by the Cultivators Association. In fact, even the chairman himself was present. Even though Yuan had only asked him to prepare the concert, Chairman Li decided to participate in it as well. The rest of the people in the crowd were people from the Bai family, led by Bai Mengyao himself. After hearing about the concert, Bai Mengyao immediately flew to this city. Of course, he had other intentions. Yuan, can I take a moment of your time to introduce my father to you? He came all the way here from another city to meet you. White Lotus asked him after they arrived at the city square. Sure. He agreed. Sometime later, Yuan met with White Lotus' father, Bai Mengyao. It's an honor to finally meet the famous player Yuan. I am Bai Mengyao, White Lotus' father. Bai Mengyao extended his hand for a handshake. Just call me Yuan. He accepted the handshake. After hearing from my daughter that you'd saved her life, I have been dying to repay the favor. Please, if you need anything, just let me know. Bai Mengyao shook his hands vigorously. Yuan smiled and said, don't even mention it. I am the one who owes White Lotus, who has been a great assistance and friend for the last 2 days. That's great to hear, but my offer will remain. If you ever have troubles, you can contact me or my daughter. We may not be the strongest family in the legacy ranking, but we're up there. I understand. After chatting with White Lotus' father for some time, Chairman Li approached him and started another conversation. When the crowd there noticed how respectful Chairman Li and Bai Mengyao were acting towards Yuan, they became interested in his identity. Of course, besides some people there, the majority of people in the crowd were unaware of Yuan's true identity. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 974. Published at 14th of May, 2022, 9:27 and 12 seconds AM. Chapter 974. 974. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 974. My name is Yutian Yuan. We have some trouble. White Lotus suddenly approached him. What happened? Well, it's nothing serious, but Yuro and her friend are currently stuck in traffic, so they'll be late. Oh, all right. It's fine. I can wait. Sometime later, Meishio approached him and said, Yuan, I should have told you this earlier, but... She proceeded to explain to him what she'd told Yuro last night when she called. You told her that I was hospitalized from training? Yuan couldn't help but laugh at this news. She's probably going to be angry once she realizes that I lied to her. I'm sure she'll understand your intentions. Also, she'll probably forget about it after the concert. Yuan chuckled. Meanwhile, somewhere inside the city, Yuro and the others were stuck in traffic. Are the roads usually this busy in the city? Yuro asked, as this is her first time leaving the faction since her arrival several months ago. No, not at all. These people are probably fleeing the city. Elder Een said. I would be fleeing the city too if I wasn't living outside the city. Yuro smiled. About half an hour later, Elder Een received a call from White Lotus. Yes, we're almost there. In fact, we can probably walk the rest of the distance. Okay, I understand. After hanging up, Elder Een said to Yuro and Xiaojingyi, we're going to be walking the rest of the way since we're already half an hour late. Yuro and Xiaojingyi nodded their heads, and the three of them left the car shortly after. After another 10 minutes, they arrived at the city square, where a crowd of people could be seen sitting in front of what appeared to be a portable stage. What is going on here? Yuro mumbled in a low voice. It looks like a concert. There's even a piano on the stage. Xiaojingyi said. A concert at this time? Who would be stupid enough to do something like this? Yuro shook her head. However, Elder Een suddenly started leading them toward the concert. Elder Een? Should we really waste our time here? Yuro couldn't help but ask. After all, their faction leader was waiting for their arrival. However, Elder Een didn't say anything to her, so they just stood there in silence. Suddenly, a person walked onto the stage with a microphone in his hands. Yuro didn't immediately recognize the person on the stage, but when she took a closer look at his face, her eyes widened with shock. In no way, she muttered in a low voice that was filled with disbelief. Yuan stopped at the center of the stage and lifted the microphone closer to his mouth. Thank you all for coming today. My name is Yutian. Some of you might recognize my name because I used to be a professional musician, but I was forced to retire early due to some misfortune. However, I am proud to announce that I have fully recovered. Yutian? I recognize him. He's that child prodigy who took the world by storm with his music. I remember going to his concert once. It cost me an arm and leg, but it was definitely worth it. Now that you mention it, I have heard of his name before too. Why Yuro? Isn't that your... Xiaojingyi turned to look at Yuro, who was standing there with a baffled look on her face. Brother? Yu Rao's eyes began turning moist, and before long, tears appeared at the edge of her eyes. After taking a deep breath, Yuan continued to speak while his gaze looked directly at Yu Rao. Although I have already retired from my career as a professional musician, I have decided to temporarily come out of retirement just for today as a special occasion to celebrate my precious little sister's 17th birthday. Visit Recital Me for extra chapters. Yuan walked to the piano and took a seat. After taking a deep breath, his hands started dancing on the piano's keyboard, officially starting his concert. The audience were immediately enchanted by the heavenly music produced by Yuan's fingers, feeling as though they were being led above the skies by his music notes. Of course, Yuan wanted this concert to be as realistic and official as possible, so he made sure to have it broadcasted live on television. Meanwhile, at the Yu family, Yu Yong, who was cultivating in silence inside his room, suddenly opened his eyes when all four of his cell phones began ringing almost at the same time. This is Yu Yong. He randomly picked one and answered it. Yu Yong. You bastard. How long have you been keeping this secret for? His colleague's voice resounded. Huh? What are you talking about? You're still acting like you don't know anything? Spare me from your humor. I'm really confused right now. What are you talking about? Yu Yong was genuinely puzzled by the situation. Turn on your television and go to any music channel. Yu Yong immediately turned on the television in his room. After changing the channel, he could see the live broadcast for a certain public concert. Yu Yong didn't recognize the person sitting behind the piano at first, but when the camera zoomed in on Yuan's face, Yu Yong quickly realized who he had been staring at, and he cried out loud. What the fuck is going on? I should be asking you that, Yu Yong. When did your son Yu Tian recover? You should have told us about it the moment it happened. Do you have any idea how much he means to the music industry and our wallets? And what's with this shabby-looking concert? This is his first concert in a decade. You should have prepared something more grand. All of our investors are fuming with anger as we speak. However, Yu Yong was so shocked by what he was seeing that he didn't even hear what had been said through the phone. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 975. Published at 16th of May, 2022, 8:27 and 19 seconds AM. Chapter 975. 975. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 975. Happy birthday, darling. Take a look at the television. Tang Li burst into Yu Yong's room shortly after he found out about Yuan's concert. I am watching it now. How did this happen? Yu Yong gritted his teeth in frustration. I don't know, but our investors are contacting us from all directions. They think we're behind this, and they're super angry right now. We need to do something. Of course they are angry. I would be angry too. His return after a decade could have brought us hundreds of millions. However, he wasted it on this shitty concert. Yu Yong roared. Damn it. What should we do? That bastard seems to have made a recovery. However, we have already kicked him out of the family. If only we had waited for a couple more months, none of this would be happening. Calm down, it's not over yet, Tang Li said with a cold smile on her face. In case you forgot, we still have his contract, and even though we kicked him out, he is still legally part of our family. We'll force him back into our grasp no matter what it takes. I'll go call Meifeng and our lawyers right now. Meanwhile, at the city square, the crowd in front of Yuan's concert would grow bigger as time passed. The people that had been too terrified to leave their homes suddenly decided to witness this performance with their eyes, even at the cost of their lives. By the third song, the entire square was filled with people, and even the people trying to leave the city halted their movements, which clogged up the traffic even more, putting it to a complete halt. That young man on the stage looks very familiar. Where have I seen him before? That's that child prodigy Yu Tian. Oh, I remember now. The one that suddenly disappeared a decade ago? I thought he had died. Apparently, he had been suffering from an illness until recently. Does this mean he'll return to playing the instruments? I'll have to attend one of them even if it costs me my entire fortune. Aren't you at one right now? And it's even free. Heavens! I didn't think he could improve, but it sounds even better than I remember. Yuan decided to play a total of 17 songs because it was Yu Rao's 17th birthday. At the end of his last song, Yuan stood up and walked to the microphone before speaking. Happy birthday, Yu Rao. The crowd erupted with cheers afterward. However, there was one person that wasn't cheering, and that was Yu Rao, who was too busy wiping her tears. Sometime later, Yuan jumped off the stage and began walking into the crowd. The people there quickly made a path for him until he reached Yu Rao. Surprise! Yuan said to her with a bright smile on his face. You idiot! How dare you make me cry on my birthday, and in front of so many people? Yu Rao cried. Yuan opened his arms, gesturing for a hug. Yu Rao immediately jumped into his embrace and cried on his chest until she could no longer produce tears and Yuan's clothes were soaking wet. Brother, I love you. Yu Rao mumbled afterward. Yes, I love you too. Yuan smiled as he patted her head. Sometime later, Yuan returned to the stage and said to the audience, Thank you all for coming to my concert today. Although I will not be returning to my old career as a musician because I found something else I want to chase, I will not give up on music, so you can expect to see me again in the future. The audience refused to leave even after the concert was over, and many of them had questions for him. However, the Bai family and the Cultivators Association worked together to keep them from swarming Yuan. That was an amazing concert, Senior Yu, Xia Jingyi said. Senior Yu? Just call me Yuan. Yu Rao already told you about it, right? Why yes. But are you sure? There's still so many people around us. Xia Jingyi looked around in a nervous manner. When Yu Rao revealed to Xia Jingyi that her brother, Yu Tian, was actually player Yuan, Xia Jingyi was so shocked that she fell unconscious for an entire minute. I don't care about hiding my identity anymore, so it's fine. Yuan smiled. By the way, brother. Your eyes. Have your vision returned? Yu Rao finally got to ask him. Yes, I have regained my vision. In fact, I regained it just yesterday. He nodded. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. That's amazing. How did it return? Did you do anything special? No, it just came back suddenly, just like how my body suddenly started working again. Anyways, let's stop talking about me. It's your birthday after all. Is there anything you want to do? Yuan asked her. Yu Rao pondered for a moment before shaking her head. Not really. I had planned on relaxing in my room and spending most of the day talking to you on the phone, but Meishio told me that you'd been hospitalized. Sorry. I didn't want to ruin the surprise. Meishio said with a stiff smile on her face. Hello, Yu Rao. It's been a while. Chu Liuxiang suddenly stepped forward with a smile on her face. Lulu, you're here too. Of course. And happy birthday. Thank you. I didn't bring any presents with me this year, but next year I will definitely get you something. It's fine. I don't care about that. Yu Rao shook her head. Anyways, let's go somewhere quieter. It's too noisy here. Sure. They all made their way to the White Lotus Hotel. However, before they can even sit down and relax on the peaceful roof, Meishio suddenly received a phone call from her mother, Mei Feng. It's my mother. She's probably calling about the concert. Should I answer it? Meishio sighed. Go ahead. Let's see what the Yu family wants. Yuan nodded with a calm smile on his face. Okay. Meishio answered the phone the next moment. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 976. Published at 16th of May, 2022, 8:27 and 18 seconds AM. Chapter 976. 976. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 976. What can a child like him do to us? Hello. Meishio spoke after answering the phone. You can guess why I called you, right? Mai Feng's calm voice resounded through the phone. It's about the concert, right? Is the young master with you? Yes, he is. Can I speak with him? Mei Xiao turned to look at Yuan, who was already gesturing for the phone. Hello, Miss Mei Feng. It's been a while. Yuan said. Young master. I'm sure you already expected this even before you planned that concert. But the Yu family is demanding for you to return to the family now that they are aware of your recovery. Mei Feng said. Yes, I anticipated that something like this would happen. I can even imagine their faces when they realize that I've recovered. What are you going to do now? The Yu family is already in the process of getting you back. Although the Yu family is not that threatening in terms of influence, it's their investors that you should be worried about. They won't let you get away so easily. And what are they going to do? Force me to play music again? They will most likely threaten you with legal issues and other stuff. If you refuse, they will destroy everything you own and make it so that you won't be able to survive without their help. Is that all? That's a lot more boring than what I had in mind. Yuan smiled. Mei Feng was a little baffled by how calm Yuan was acting. Young master. Don't worry, Miss Mei Feng. I will willingly come back to the Yu family later. It's Yu Rao's birthday today, so I am going to spend some time with her. Tell this to the Yu family. Are you really just going to return to the Yu family? After everything they've done to you? Mei Feng was puzzled again. I'm sure they'll be relieved to hear such words, so yes, go ahead and tell them that I will be returning to the Yu family to work for them again. Anyways, I will talk to you again when I return, Miss Feng. Yuan hung up the phone after that sentence. Why, you're going to go back to the Yu family? Yu Rou stared at him with wide eyes. Of course not. However, if I don't tell them that, they'll try to mess with us. I'm just buying us some time. Yuan smiled. Do you need some help dealing with the Yu family? My Bai family can easily crush the Yu family for you. White Lotus suddenly asked him. Thank you for the offer, but this is a family problem that I want to deal with by myself. Anyways, let's forget about the Yu family for now. I want to focus on Yu Rou for today. Even if you say that, I don't know what I want to do. I'm satisfied with just spending time with all of you. Yu Rou sighed. Yuan pondered for a moment before speaking. Yu Rou, let's go on a quick adventure. Where are we going? It doesn't matter. Yuan shook his head. He then said to Mei Xiao and the others, we're going to fly around for a bit. Sure. They nodded. Huh. Fly? Yu Rou and Xia Jingyi raised their eyebrows. Yuan suddenly picked up Yu Rou and carried her like a princess. Be brother? What are you doing? She cried out loud in surprise. We're going to go on a little adventure around the city. And without explaining any further, Yuan flew into the sky. The others could hear Yu Rou screaming for her life the following moment. He's flying. Xia Jingyi watched their figures disappear into the clouds with a wide mouth. It's not your first time flying, so why are you so scared? Yuan laughed out loud. Visit Riedel. Me for extra chapters. That was in Cultivation Online. How are you doing this? I'm a spirit grandmaster. No way. Anyways, let's catch up with each other. I am aware that I have been neglecting you for a while now, and I am sorry for that. Yu Rou sighed. You don't have to apologize. I have also been busy with my own training, not to mention the difference in our time zone. The two of them proceeded to tell their own experience for the past few months to each other. An hour later, Yuan and Yu Rou returned to the hotel, where they continued to chat over some food and tea. Meanwhile, Mei Feng notified the Yu family of Yuan's decision. He agreed to come back to work for us? That was easier than I expected. Yu Yong was dumbfounded after hearing the news. This is a little too easy. I think he might be up to something. Let's still prepare just in case. Tang Li said. Of course, but what can a child like him do to us? He's only 18 years old, and he's lived more than half of that life as a cripple. I bet he agreed to come back, because he has barely survived the last few months. He will never win against us. Yu Yong laughed out loud. Now that he can move again, he has a lot of work to make up for, a decade's worth. Tang Li said. The Yu family became fully active again in preparation for their future profits. Later that night, Yuan and the others ate dinner together. Yuro and Xiaojingyi, the two of you can stay here tonight. We'll all return to the faction tomorrow. However, if you want, you can stay out here with your brother for a few more days. White Lotus said to them. Ha! Brother is coming back to the faction with us? I thought males aren't allowed inside. Yuro said. This is a special occasion. White Lotus smiled. Since brother is coming with us, there's no need to stay here for any longer. And with the recent commotion, I will feel safer at the faction too. Yuro said. All right. Then we'll return to the faction tomorrow. White Lotus nodded. After dinner, Yuro suddenly approached Yuan and said, Brother, I want to sleep with you tonight. Sure. Yuan agreed without any hesitation. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 977. Published at 16th of May, 2022, 8:27 and 17 seconds AM. Chapter 977. 977. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 977. Feelings. Once all of the lights in the room were shut off, Yuan and Yuro entered the bed together. How long has it been since we slept together? It's only been several months since you left the Yu family, but it feels like much longer has passed. Yuro suddenly said. Yuan turned his head sideways to look at her delicate face and smiled. You have matured a lot since the last time I saw you. I had to grow up fast now that I am living alone. Living by yourself isn't easy. I thought that I was ready because I had been able to take care of you for years without much trouble, but I underestimated it. It's actually a lot harder to take care of yourself than to take care of others. Fortunately, Jingyi is there with me, so I am not truly alone. And brother, I can also say the same to you. You've changed a lot. Well, just like you, I also had to grow up fast. I know, but you also seem like a different person. Yuro said. In a bad sense? Yuan raised his eyebrows. No, not in a bad sense. Before, even though you are older than me, it kind of felt like I was the older one. However, after spending a day with you, I can finally experience being a little sister again. Do you prefer the way I am now, or would you rather the old and naive me? Yuro pondered for a moment before speaking. Honestly, I like both versions of you. However, if I had to choose, I would definitely choose the current you. Can I ask why? However, Yuro shook her head in silence. That's a secret, she mumbled in a bashful voice. Due to the darkness in the room, Yuro's red face remained hidden. I guess everyone has their own secrets. Yuan smiled, not minding it. After a moment of silence, Yuro turned to stare at Yuan's face with a serious expression. Brother, I have been wanting to ask you this, but I never got the chance. Meishio, how are things between you and Meishio right now? Yuan was taken aback by this sudden question. I mean, the two of you have been living together for a while now, and you even got to spend a few months living together inside a small apartment. As two young adults, you must have made some progress in your relationships, right? I don't get what you're trying to ask. Yuan pretended to be oblivious. However, Yuro wasn't having any of it and continued. Don't lie to me, brother. Meishio is a very attractive and beautiful woman, and she has been taking care of you ever since you left the Yu family. The two of you are even around the same age. There's no way that you don't have any feelings for her. There's really nothing between us, Yuro. Yuan showed her a bittersweet smile. Brother, I might have believed you if you were still as naive as before, but you're different now. I am also different. I have matured as your sister, and as a woman. I can tell that there's something between the two of you. Seeing the expression on Yuro's face at this moment, Yuan released a low sigh. All right, I will tell you the truth. Indeed, Meishio is an attractive woman. After all, she's managed to charm me. I knew it. Yuro exclaimed. How far have you gotten with her? Have you confessed yet? Yuan responded with a stiff smile on his face. Actually, We're already way past that point. Huh. Yu's eyes widened. So you're already partners? Like the boyfriend and girlfriend kind? Yes. Yuan nodded. I see. I have to admit, I truly didn't expect this, she muttered in a dazed voice. After a long moment of silence, she asked him, What about Lulu? She likes you too, right? What are you going to do about her? About that. She's also my partner. What? Yu jumped off the bed after hearing this shocking information. How can Lulu be your partner when you already have Meishio as your partner? Don't tell me. You're two-timing them. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. What? No. I am not two-timing anyone. Yuan quickly said. Not wanting the misunderstanding to deepen any further, he explained to Yu the whole situation. Meishio and Lulu are both my partners, and they are both aware of it. I couldn't just accept one of them and abandon the other, so I decided to accept both of them. They also agreed to this. Yu's jaw dropped to the floor after learning the truth. And my brother has a harem. Yu fell to the ground on her knees. Yu, are you okay? I thought I was mature enough to handle the truth, but alas, I have overestimated myself once again, Yu said to herself in a dispirited voice. The room fell completely silent afterward. Many moments later, Yu stood up and said to Yuan, Brother, I will be right back. Don't you dare leave this room until I come back. And without explaining any further, Yu left the room. Yuan had an idea where Yu went, so he didn't bother chasing after her. Sometime later, Yu knocked on the door to Meixius' room. Yu? What's the matter? I thought you were going to sleep with Yuan. Meishio asked her. We need to talk. Yu said as she entered the room. Meishio was puzzled by the situation, but she could tell that Yu seemed frustrated at something. Once she closed the door, Meishio approached Yu and asked, What's wrong? Yu did not immediately respond and merely silently stared at Meixius' confused face. After a moment of silence, she finally spoke. Meishio, I know everything. Brother told me the truth about your relationship with him. And Lulu. Meixius' eyes widened. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 978. Published at 16th of May, 2022, 1:30 and 27 seconds p.m. Chapter 978. 978. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 978. All the way, don't worry, I'm not angry. Yu said after seeing Meixius' worried expression. You guys wanted to keep it a secret from me because you didn't know how I would react, right? Thank you for your concerns, but I can handle myself. However, I would be lying if I said that I am not shocked by the results. Anyways, I came here because I have some questions that I can only ask you since it would be too embarrassing to ask my brother. First of all, how long has this been happening? Meishio pondered for a moment before speaking. Some time after we moved out of Xiaojingyi's apartment. Then my second question. How far have you guys gone? Have you kissed yet? Yu asked in an anxious manner. Meishio swallowed nervously. She didn't dare to respond without thinking about it first, as this could break Yu's spirit. Should I lie to her and say that we've only kissed, or should I tell her the truth, that we've gone all the way? You're not going to lie to me again, are you? Yu suddenly said with narrowed eyes. I have forgiven you for lying about my brother being hospitalized, but I won't forgive you if you lie to me this time. Seeing Yu's stern face, Meishio sighed. We have kissed. In fact, we have already gone all the way. What? Yu was taken aback by Meixius' words. It took her a moment to comprehend the meaning behind Meixius' words, but when she finally understood the true meaning, Yu's face flushed with redness. Why, you've gone all the way? Alike. All the way. Yu wanted confirmation, as she hoped that it was just another misunderstanding. However, Meishio said, Yes, we've gone all the way, we had sex. Yu started stumbling backward until she fell on the bed, where she would quietly lie down and stare at the ceiling with a dazed look on her face. After a whole minute of awkward silence, Yuro spoke. Lulu. Did he also do it with her? Yes. Meishio answered without hesitation. I see. So you guys have finally done it. Good for you, Meishio. Huh. Meishio raised her eyebrows. Yuro sat on the bed and said, You've always liked him, right? The only reason you started working for the Yu family is so that you could be with my brother. Now that your dreams have come true, what are you going to do next? We haven't planned that far yet. Meishio shook her head. Yuro turned silent again. Are you okay, Yuro? Meishio suddenly asked her. What makes you think that I am not okay? Yuro looked at her. I mean, you also like him, right? Of course. He's my precious brother. You know that's not what I mean. Meishio said. A bittersweet smile appeared on Yuro's face as she spoke. Why are you asking me that? Don't you want to be with Yuan? If it's you, I wouldn't mind having you in our family. I think Lulu will also say the same thing. Meishio said. What? Are you crazy? There's no way we can be partners. He's my brother. Yuro exclaimed. Yes, but that is only a name. You're not actually blood-related, so there's no problem. There's plenty of problems. Although we may not share the same blood, we have lived most of our lives as siblings. He will definitely reject such an idea, and that will destroy our current relationship. I don't want that to happen. Yuro. Thank you, Meishio. I understand your feelings, but you do not need to be concerned about me. Just like how you figured things out with him by yourselves, I am also going to do the same. Anyways, it's getting late. I'm going to go to sleep. Yuro left Meixius' room and returned to Yuan shortly after. I didn't think that you'd return. Yuan said to her. Why would you think that? Yuro said as she entered the bed. You're not angry? What's there to be angry about? I'm only a little frustrated that you tried to hide the truth from me. That's all. Sorry. Brother, can I hug you? She suddenly asked. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Of course. Yuro moved closer to him and treated his body like a hug pillow. I'm going to sleep like this. Good night. Good night. A few minutes later, Yuan could hear Yuro sobbing. However, he decided to not say anything and pretended to be asleep. Yuro also didn't say anything and kept on crying until she fell asleep. The following morning, they both acted as though last night never happened. Good morning. Yuro said to him. Morning. After doing their morning routine, Yuan and Yuro went to eat breakfast with the others. Although none of them said anything about last night, Chu Liuxiang, Xia Jingyi, and White Lotus could sense something off about the atmosphere. In the end, breakfast ended up feeling a little awkward, mostly because it was a little too quiet. Are you guys ready to leave? It'll be a 2-hour ride to the faction. White Lotus asked them. Yes, we're ready. Once everyone was in a car, they started driving towards the Eternal Lotus's headquarters. Their journey to the headquarters was as quiet as breakfast, but it lasted twice as long. It was obvious to Chu Liuxiang and the others that something had happened to the siblings last night, but nobody there dared to ask. Upon arriving at the Eternal Lotus's headquarters, White Lotus said, I should have probably mentioned this before we came here, but I kind of forgot about them. We actually have a few guests staying here at the moment, and they're all looking for you. Me? Yuan raised his eyebrows. I got ahead of myself after our meeting in Cultivation online, and bragged about it to some people. I'm really sorry, but I didn't tell them anything about our conversations. I swear. White Lotus lowered her head and apologized. Yuan smiled and said, Don't worry about it. I'll entertain them for a bit if they approach me. Thank you. They all entered the Eternal Lotus's headquarters shortly after. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 979. Published at 19th of May, 2022, 9:27 and 16 seconds AM. Chapter 979. 979. If audio player doesn't work, Press stop then play button again. Chapter 979. Visiting Eternal Lotuses. Before entering the Eternal Lotuses headquarters, Yuan wore a mask on his face. Why are you wearing a mask now? Yuro couldn't help but ask him. I don't want to ruin your life in this place. From this point forth, I will be Yuan, not Yu Tian. He said. I don't care if people find out that you're my brother. In fact, that's something I can brag about. I'm only doing this because of the legacy families. They're a bunch of annoying people that you don't want to deal with, and I am trying to save you from them. A bunch of annoying people. White Lotus sighed inwardly after hearing his words. As she was from a legacy family, she couldn't help but feel like she was part of these annoying people. However, she couldn't refute such claims either, as she found other legacy families to be pretty annoying as well. Welcome back, Leader by Eldarine. Welcome to the Eternal Lotuses, guests. The disciples at the front gate greeted them. They didn't immediately realize that there was a man amongst their group, because Yuan was wearing a mask, and he had long hair tied into a ponytail. Although his body structure was larger than the ladies there, it wasn't enough to raise any suspicions. Is there anything you want to see first, or should I just give you a tour around our faction? White Lotus asked Yuan after they entered the faction. I'll let you decide where we go. I just want to see what Rouse life has been like for the past few months. I understand. Then let's do a walkthrough of our disciples' daily routine. There should still be some disciples doing morning training right now. Yuan nodded, and they proceeded to follow White Lotus around the faction, starting from the area where most disciples go to train. White Lotus would give them a brief explanation of the place, while Yuro would recall her experience there. The disciples there eventually realized that there was a man amongst them, and rumors quickly began to spread like wildfire. Did you hear? Senior Bai brought a man into the faction. What? This is the first time a man has stepped foot inside this place since its founding. I heard that not even Leader Bai's father could enter this place. Who is this man that she finds more important than her own father? I couldn't get a look at his face because he was wearing a mask, but I swear I heard Leader Bai addressing him as Yuan. What? It must be Player Yuan. I heard that she had an encounter with him in. They probably agreed to meet in real life. Oh my. This is so exciting. Meanwhile, in one of the guest rooms, Fiery Queen overheard some of the disciples in the hallway talking about Yuan. What? Player Yuan is here? That crafty bitch. No wonder why she's been gone for the last few days. She actually snuck out to meet him. And she even lied to me about it. She left her room shortly after to look for White Lotus and Yuan. Sometime later, Fiery Lotus found them resting under a pavilion. What do you think of my faction? White Lotus asked him as they sipped on hot tea. It's very peaceful here, and the disciples are full of enthusiasm. Honestly, I feel a little embarrassed to even call my place a faction after seeing how organized this place is. It's more like a home than a headquarter. I think most factions are like that. Only those with enough funds and reputation dare to build such a large headquarter. White Lotus said. Suddenly, excuse me, you can't go in there. Someone there said in a nervous voice. White Lotus turned around to see Fiery Queen approaching them with a nonchalant expression on her face. Yuan, that's Sasha Walkers, also known as Fiery Queen. She's a top 10 player in Cultivation Online, and she's from the Walkers family that is ranked 10th in the Legacy ranking. White Lotus quickly introduced her to Yuan. Once she arrived before their table, Fiery Queen combed her short orange hair with her fingers and spoke. Are you really Player Yuan? Feeling her sharp gaze, Yuan smiled and nodded. How can I help you, Miss Walkers? Oh, you know about me? Visit Readel. Me for extra chapters. I only know of your name. I see. Well, I don't like beating around the bush, so I am going to ask you directly. Join my Walkers family, Player Yuan. What can you offer me? Yuan didn't immediately reject her offer. Is this what he meant by entertaining them? White Lotus wondered inwardly. I will double, no triple what the Bai family has offered you. Are you sure you can afford it? White Lotus could no longer remain quiet now that Fiery Queen brought her family into the conversation. Your Bai family may be higher in the legacy rankings, but my Walkers family is ranked second in terms of wealth. Tell me, What did your Bai family offer him to join your family? Fiery Queen asked. White Lotus smiled and said, Actually, we didn't offer him anything. What? Fiery Queen's eyes widened with disbelief. Why you think I would fall for such a cheap trick? Why would he come here if you didn't pay him? It's true, Yuan said. And he continued, Neither the Bai family nor White Lotus has asked me to join their family. I am here on my own accord. In fact, I was the one who requested to be here. In no way. Why would you do such a thing? Aren't you aware that every legacy family is trying to acquire you? If you do something like this, it's only natural for people to think that the Bai family had bought you. I have my own reasons for being here, Yuan calmly said. Fiery Queen gritted her teeth in frustration. Is he here because of White Lotus? Did he get charmed by her? This is bad. At this rate, the Bai family will acquire him. What can I do in this situation? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 980. Published at 19th of May, 2022, 9:27 and 15 seconds AM. Chapter 980. 980. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 980. Fiery Queen's offer. See, since the Bai family hasn't offered you anything, then allow me to offer you to join the Walker's family. What do you want? As long as it's something that money can buy, we will give it to you, Fiery Queen said to him after pondering for a moment. Sorry, but there's nothing I want. Yuan calmly responded. What? That's not possible. Everyone has something they desire. Indeed, that is true. However, what I want cannot be purchased with money. You won't know until you try. Love, happiness, fame, anything can be bought. Tell me what you desire, and the Walker's family will do everything in its power to acquire. After a moment of silence, Yuan spoke in a calm voice. If I say that I want the Walker's family, will you be able to hand it over to me? That's. Fiery Queen was dumbfounded by Yuan's question. What's wrong? Why are you hesitating? Didn't you say that you would give me anything? Or are you going to ask me to not be so greedy? I'm sorry, but I don't think we can fulfill such an unreasonable condition. Anything else but that, please. Yuan shook his head. Sorry, but I was only joking. I don't plan on joining any legacy family, so you can stop asking. Can I ask why? You would gain a lot of benefit if you joined us. Or do you plan on creating your own family? Fiery Queen narrowed her eyes at Yuan. I have no interest in the legacy ranking. As for why I don't want to join any legacy families, I don't want to break the current balance, he said. I don't want to sound arrogant, but if I join any family, even the lowest ranking family, it would immediately break the balance, and I'm sure nobody wants that to happen. Breaking the balance? Both Fiery Queen and White Lotus frowned upon hearing this, as neither of them had thought about it like this until he mentioned it. He's right. If someone like him joins the legacy ranking, the family he chooses will immediately become the most powerful and influential family in the legacy ranking regardless of their previous rank. White Lotus thought to herself. The other legacy families will probably work with each other to destroy such an unbalanced family. In other words, the moment he joins a legacy family, there will be a war. Fiery Queen sighed. As much as she wanted to acquire Yuan for her family, she did not want to fight with the other legacy families simply because they had him. After pondering for a few moments, Fiery Queen smiled and said, Very well, I will give up on trying to recruit you. However, I have another proposal. While it's true that the other legacy families won't be happy if we pay to acquire you, they won't have anything to say if you marry into our family. She pointed at herself and said, If you marry me, that will solve everything. What nonsense are you saying? White Lotus slammed the table, startling everyone there. Nonsense. I think it's quite ingenious. Fiery Queen said in a prideful tone. Yuan, forget about her. She's a lost cause. Wait. I was only joking. Fiery Queen suddenly said. And she continued, "Here's my real proposal. Instead of asking you to join our family, I will pay for your assistance." "Can you elaborate?" Yuan asked. "Basically, I want to hire you." "And what kind of job do you want me to do?" "I'm not sure yet, but we'll probably ask for you to do something for us in Cultivation Online. Maybe even train some of our players." "If that's too much to ask, then I buy information from you instead. Information about Cultivation Online." Yuan pondered about Fiery Queen's offer. "Although I can acquire money by selling Cultivation Online treasures like last time, I will be going to the third heaven soon, and that will make it difficult for me to use their auction house, especially since I will be busy traveling the world. However, if I can sell information about Cultivation Online, I can earn money just by telling them about my experience in Cultivation Online, which is essentially free money." "How much are we talking about?" Yuan then asked. "That will depend on the information you give us. We will give you a fixed price for each information you give us, and then we will pay you a bonus depending on its usefulness. How does that sound?" Visit Readle.me for extra chapters. In other words, if my information helps you acquire treasures or other valuables, you will pay me extra? Exactly. Fiery Queen nodded. "Sure, I don't mind if it's just selling information." Yuan agreed. "Yes." Fiery Queen celebrated inwardly. "Leave your contact information with me and I will contact you later." Yuan then said, "Of course." Fiery Queen immediately handed Yuan her business card. "Then I await your call." "Thank you." Fiery Queen left the place shortly after. As much as she wanted to linger and talk more with Yuan, she didn't want to push her luck. "If you don't mind me asking, why did you agree to working with her?" White Lotus asked him afterward. "It seemed like an easy way to earn money, so why not? If things don't work out, I can stop working with her whenever I want." Yuan said, "Are you, by some chance, having money problems?" She couldn't help but ask him. Yuan chuckled. "It's embarrassing to admit it, but yes, I'm actually quite broke right now. I plan on selling some treasures that I found in Cultivation Online in the future, though." A flicker appeared in White Lotus' eyes after hearing his words, and she quickly said, If you don't mind, can you sell these treasures to my family?" "Are you sure? You don't even know what kind of treasures they are." "We can figure these things out later." "Sure. Once I return home, we can meet in Cultivation Online. I will show you the treasures then." Yuan nodded. "Thank you," White Lotus said excitedly. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.